ETM Hotep, peace. And welcome to the Sesh channel. This is your brother Wujau Medew Maat. And yeah, before I say anything more, I would need a favor. Make sure that I can be heard. So if anyone who's watching can do me a solid favor and let me know that I can be heard loud and clear, and then we can keep on marching forward. That's if I can even see the chat. 1 second. So if you can hear me, shout out to everyone. Appreciate anybody tuned in. This is one of those late night brief lessons, drive by, sneaking up on you type of thing. As I said, we come out the clear blue sky. The bottom ocean of noon will just pop up. So you have to subscribe and make sure you click the notification. All right, so I just want to make sure I can see the chat, that I can be heard. Let me make sure. And yes, okay, Rasan, peace. Appreciate it. Queen Cheetah, all right, peace. Dua for that. Dua is the word thank you. I'm going to start, some of the words that we say all the time. We use Egyptian words in our classes and things like that. Sometimes I won't even realize that I'm saying them because I say them so much. But if I do and I remember, I will definitely let you all know what it means. Most of you all know what these, the everyday words that you hear all the time. Hotep, that's been turned, negative, Hotepers and stuff. But you have Hotep. Dua is thanks. Dua'u is thanks a lot. It's many thanks, literally, plural. But we say thanks a lot. Tu, you hear says yes, nen, no, things like that. So as I do remember, I will say them and pass that on to you all. All right. So also before I continue, I need to introduce my co-panelist for tonight's brief lesson, which is none other than Sonnet Imiket.
Hotep, Hotepu, Abed Ren Imiket, and I am definitely glad to be here tonight for another lesson. And yeah, just looking forward to it.
All right. So tonight we're going to just jump straight in. And again, tonight is a live stream with yours truly on the Seshu. And by the way, the link to the panel is posted because basically the way that we structure these, lessons and live streams is we'll share information or we'll address some claims and things depending on, what series we're on. Because I don't know if you all noticed that we have what's called Welcome to the Sabaeed Dome. And in those series of videos, we will address claims that are made by any and everybody. Whether it's in the circus community, whether it's from professionals and scholars and experts, etc. But then we'll have, we'll just share information based on our interaction. So tonight is one of those, and it's involving the issues surrounding the word Remetch, who they are, and so on and so forth. And this is coming off previous videos, so we kind of definitely being a little more rigid in sharing some information with you all tonight. But if you haven't checked out the video last night, you need to check out the video last night. If you have the time, the video stretched out to be 3 hours long, but the bulk of the information I was sharing didn't take all 3 hours. So, but you definitely don't want to miss checking that video out. It's where I addressed again some new pseudo information and misinformation and errors that were made by the brother Chief X. But last night I slowed the conversation way down to speed bump speed and really took everyone on a tour through the tomb of Ramses III in one corner section where where the controversy is, to correct. And also I showed the correction to a website of experts that people cite such as even Chief X was citing, and appealing to authority and things like that. So anyway, that was last night. So definitely check that out when you can, and leave some comments under the video. But this video, I've taken some questions from last night from the chat, and I really enjoy the questions from the chat because it allows me to go back and see who's curious and see who are very they want people who want to know answers to different things. And there was some good questions asked last night as well. And so every now and then I'll double back and then we can further elaborate. So that's what tonight is about. All right. And I know it's late and maybe a lot of people will miss this live in real time, but it'll be up in the archives. So hopefully people will be able to check it out. All right. Well, I'm just going to dive into it. But I pinned the link to the panel in the chat. Let me see. Did I pin it yet? All right. So I'm going to pin the link to the top. Make sure it stays there. So the way we structure things is that, whatever we share, whatever we address, we like to do that first, basically uninterrupted. And then any and everybody can come on the panel. It's, first come, first serve. I think we could fit 10 people simultaneously. And so that's how we structure. And when people come on the panel, we like to have discussions. People share their opinions, share their commentary. And if they feel that we're in error, we welcome it. Okay, because we're here now, we're here live, and people can discuss their disagreements with anything that I've said, anything that somebody on the panel has said. All right, so that's the basic structure of how we operate. So most of you all are already used to that. But every now and then I'll give the link early just so it's pinned and just so people can see it and get themselves ready. Because, some people have to get their mics ready, get the phone charged up. And if they want to have their camera on, they got to make sure they look decent and whatever the case is. So I'll pin the link early and I'll still share and then we'll open the mic up afterwards. All right. All of that good business out the way. Let's dive straight into it. So let me just stretch my screen out here. Okay, so where do we begin? And this is going to be something simple, and it's going to be a review for some of you all. And then it's going to be an add-on for a lot of people too. Whoever watches this. Okay, pretty much guarantee that. But we're going to be brief. And my definition of brief is like 3 hours. All right. So the title of the video is the Remetch, a brief lesson and questions answered. All right. Now, for those who do not know, the Remetch are the ancient Egyptians. So the question that should be asked, especially recently with all of the controversial conversations that have been going on with other people and some of it that I chimed in on, is what did the ancient Egyptians call themselves? What name did they use to refer to themselves? And that's interesting because there are people in the circus community that will deny that the ancient Egyptians referred to themselves as the name Remetch, or that Remetch doesn't refer to the ancient Egyptians, or it doesn't mean the Egyptians, and so on and so forth. But when you put that question on the table, well, what did the ancient Egyptians refer to themselves as? Then all you hear are those insects outside at night called crickets. All you hear is chirp, 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 crickets. That's it. So I'm just going to answer that question. I'm going to start with the answer that the ancient Egyptians refer to themselves as the Remetch. But we're going to kind of reinforce it and see why. All right, so we're just going to dive in. I'm trying to think, where should we begin? Okay, I tell you what. Let us start with a dictionary. Okay, now I always encourage people who are studying ancient Egyptian culture and language, etc., to get as many resources as you possibly can without breaking your pockets. All right, that means get all the dictionaries you can. Don't just stick with one. Get all of the resources and things. Look at the bibliographies of different scholarly works and just collect the books, the reference materials, the bibliography, everything. You know, just get it if you can. And so, what I'm going to show is just one dictionary entry that should be suffice because I've shared many in the past 4 videos, recent videos. So I want to be brief tonight. I'm going to share one, and that's what's on the screen here. So this is from Raymond Faulkner's 1962, A Concise Dictionary of Middle Egyptian. All right, this is from page 149, and this is the entry. And by the way, there was a comment made, you know, and kind of a joke, and actually a put down on the fact that a lot of scholarly works when it comes to ancient Egyptian issues are handwritten. All right, and so only someone who don't study ancient Egyptian culture and study the scholarly works about ancient Egypt will make a comment like that and make fun of the fact that these books are handwritten. A lot of them are from basically prior to 1970. You know, pretty much after that, they're all pretty much typeset. All right. But I say that to say that this particular dictionary by Faulkner is all handwritten. All right. So, and that does bring about a challenge because you have to, one, get used to the author's penmanship, his handwriting, and then, you know, you have to be able to read it. You can't search through the book and so on and so forth. So it is challenging. But this particular dictionary is recommended by pretty much every Egyptological college level course. If you want to become an Egyptologist, this is a dictionary that is recommended to you that you get. This is one of them. But anyway, so that's out the way. This is from page 149. And as you can see, let me get my trusty arrow here. So we have the word Remetch. And so at all times that I'm sharing this information, I want those who are watching, whether watching me now live or in the archive, even if you don't know about the language, about the writing system, the hieroglyphs and things like that, no worries at all, because all you have to do for now is to just visually memorize these glyphs, and I'm going to point them out every now and then. So you have an open mouth, what's called a tethering rope. Then you have a kneeling man with his arm extended. And then usually you'll have a seated woman next to him, and then 3 strokes. Okay. And I'm going to point that out to you right over here. So you see the kneeling man with the arm, seated woman, and 3 strokes. Okay. That's how you would normally see it. So just kind of take a mental snapshot of those glyphs. Those glyphs spell out the word Remetch. Now we transliterate this word as R, M, and then a capital T if we're using a transliteration system called manual decodage. If we're using the publication for transliteration system, which is using diacritic marks, we transliterate it as R, M, and then a lowercase t with a line under it, as you can see Faulkner did. You see this line under it? Hopefully you all can see that. Okay, that's how it's transliterated. Now, one of the first things I want to answer is, and I forgot who asked this question, but the question came up more than once last night, and it was obviously the question was coming from someone who's a little familiar with the glyphs, because they noticed that the M, when we transliterate RMT, that the M, there's no glyph that's representing the consonant M, because the open mouth is the R and the tethering rope is the capital T, or the T with the line under it. And then the seated man or the kneeling man, and if it was the fuller one with the woman and the three strokes, those are called determinatives, and they are not transliterated, nor are they pronounced. Okay, so the consonants is what you see here. So all you see in the glyphs is the R and the capital T, but the M is missing. And so their question was, why? Why is the M missing? And then as a follow-up, how do we know that the M is missing if it's not there? You know, how do we know that it was there if it's not there, and everything? Now, I answered that last night, but tonight what I want to do real quick is to show examples of when the M is there. Okay, that's what I didn't show last night, so I'm showing that tonight. So, and it's very easy. So also as a bonus, I want you all to follow what you can do when you're doing your own investigation, your own research. So this is Faulkner's Dictionary, page 149, the entry for Remetch. Now, the good thing about Faulkner's Dictionary, which is why a college course is recommended, is because Faulkner not only gives the definitions, or not so much definition, but translations of these words, but he also gives examples of attestations, meaning where you can find the word in real Egyptian text. Okay, so for example, he has Remetch, and you can find it in a text that's being abbreviated, and scholars use an abbreviation system for resources. So there's a source called Amarna, Volume 5, page 15. Okay, and so what you would do is, you would find this resource, go to Volume 5, go to this page, and then search, and you will find this word Remetch there. Okay, simple as that. Then you have the plural form. PL is plural. The plural of Remetch, meaning men of mankind. You'll find an example of that in a series of journals abbreviated as Urk or Uric. And the Uric stands for a long German word that I will not dare to try to pronounce to you. But it's a series of journals, and this is volume 4 of that, page 159, comma 5, which is usually, if it's a comma, it's usually a plate or column or something to that effect. All right. Another source is a text that's abbreviated as Siut, plate 6, column 266. And so I'm going to use this example to show you all how to do this, or what you would need to do if you are, interested and really study this stuff. All right. This is why I always say, people know me as saying that ancient Egyptian issues and studies cannot be microwave, because this is the kind of things you have to do. One, you have to read people's handwritings. You got to, the dictionaries are not in alphabetical order that we're accustomed to. They're in an order of phonetic clusters and things like that. So it's not something that people can microwave. So when you hear people fuss and fight and argue about Egyptian things, if they're not a student to this, you really, really have to be suspect of what they say. All right. And I say that from experience. I've been teaching this, the language for a decade. Now I have a decade under my belt now. A decade makes it sound like it's a lot, but a little over 10 years. And just it's been my experience. But let's go to this source, the Siut, plate 6, column 266, and we're going to see what form is this word in. All right, so I have that resource here, I believe. Yes. So that resource is written by Francis Griffith in 1889. That's like over 100 years ago. 1889. And it's called The Inscriptions of Siut and Der Rife. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. But that's the source that Faulkner was citing. And so you get the source yourself and you look at it. This is how you fact check or you critique sources. You just double check sources when necessary. All right. So remember, it said plate 6, and it's a whole book, right? I just took one the relevant page to show you all, share with you all. But this is from the entire book. This is plate 6. Now I'm gonna blow this up. I know you all can't see it. I just want you to see the whole page. All right, and now I'm gonna blow it up so you can actually see these glyphs and see some more things on here. So, as a matter of fact, let me just do this. I can take this off so you all see the source. So you all can come back and take a screenshot and make sure you all can look this up and grab these sources. If you are interested in doing your investigations and research. So I need room to blow this up. All right. So I'm blowing up because I want you to see that this is plate 6. CPL 6. This is plate 6. All right. So you see that there. And we're going to go down here because the columns are numbered at the bottom. So we see column 261, 262, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember the source. He said it was in Siut, plate 6, column 266. So let's go back to it. We're in column 266 and we got to go up to the column and we're going to find the word Remetch somewhere in this column. So I'm going to pull it down to about right. Well, I want y'all to see the top and I'm going to work my way back down. And we see it right here. Let me point to it in the correct way. Right there. Now remember the glyphs. Hold on, let me blow this up some more so y'all can really see it. Blow it up. Now that we found it, I could blow it up because I want you all to see the glyphs. Here they are. So remember the glyphs I told you all to memorize, visually memorize. So we have the open mouth, the tethering rope, the kneeling man with the arm extended, the seated woman, and the 3 strokes. Okay, that's the word Remetch. So where is this found? This is found in a tomb. So let's go to the top of this document. This is from tomb number 1 in Siut. And this is from the Great Hall, the east wall, the north side of the door. So you see how specific they are? It's from the Great Hall, the east wall, on the north side of the door in tomb number 1 in Siut. All right. So now that I've lost my spot, here we are right here. So we have Remetch. Okay, so what I've just done, I just showed you an example of tracking the breadcrumbs that scholars leave us in their documentation. So Raymond Faulkner gave an example and we looked at the example, the source. Okay, so that's an example there. Let's see, what else? Let's go back to Raymond. Let's go back to Faulkner. So now he has a semicolon here. Now it's referring to, it's also defined. Now, let me back up. Remetch, the word Remetch literally means people in plural or man in the singular. And it's usually man, not in the sense of a male gendered only, but man in the sense of mankind, human beings, humans. Okay, so just make sure you may take a mental note of that. But in the plural, that's why he has man in the singular and then men, mankind in the plural. So dictionaries will also tell you that the word Remetch refers to the Egyptians. So it's more narrow. It's not human beings like all humanity, Homo sapiens sapiens, but specifically the Egyptians. Okay, so in his dictionary, he has that there, the Egyptians. Then he gives you a source where you'll find it where it means that, the Egyptians. So his source is abbreviated GAS, and he's given the 2,1, which is usually the plate and column or the page and so on. And you'll know which is which and which is which and what's what when you grab the source. So let me go to that particular source. Let me see if I have it pulled up here. Give me 1 second here. Trying to do this, as speedy as I possibly can. And do I even have that source up to share and show? Do I have it? It is the Admonitions of an Egyptian Sage by Sir Alan Gardner. And I do have it up, but I don't have it on the slide. So give me 1 second. Be patient with me real quick here. Let's see. All right, here we go. So I'm going to have to share my screen differently. All right, I have it pulled up here. Let me share my screen. All right, so you all should be able to see it. Y'all let me know. Can y'all see my screen? All right, I think I need to make this bigger so y'all can see it. Okay, so this is that particular source I just showed you all. That was GAS, gas. Is an abbreviation, gas, and it is GAS. Gardner's Admonitions of an Egyptian Sage, Admonitions of a Sage. And it's actually the Papyrus Leiden, the famous Ipuwer Papyrus. And you all may have heard it by that name, Ipuwer Papyrus. A lot of biblical followers usually argue over the Ipuwer Papyrus and its relationship to similar stories in the Bible and things like that. All right, so you may be familiar with it that way. But this is the particular page. This is coming from Gardner's Admonitions of an Egyptian Sage, and this is from hieratic. And so what scholars do with hieratic primary sources, they will transcribe it into the formal hieroglyphic transcription. Okay, and so this is from page 20, starts on page 20, where he reproduces the lines from the first sheet in the 6th column to the first sheet to the ninth column. Okay, this is 1,6 to 1,9. All right, and see, I can't put my arrow on here, but hopefully you all can see where my cursor is. And I want you to notice that the meaning of Egyptians, Faulkner is saying, is coming from the context in this text. Okay, so particularly down here, I hope you all can see my cursor. So right here, you see the word chesed, chesetiu. That particular, where these three glyphs here, the triple hills, the raised bread loaf, and we call it the tu bird. It's a buzzard, and stands for the three consonants tu, tyw, and so this is chesetiu, chesetiu. This word chesed is the exact same word that's in the word hekakasut, or as most people pronounce as hyksos. Hyksos. Hyksos is the Greek way of saying hekakasut. So the word chasut, not heka, but chasut. So chasut means foreigners. It's literally from the word that means hill. Chaset is a hill or a mountain, and anything beyond or on the other side of the hill or mountains was considered a foreigner or foreign object to the ancient Egyptians. Why? Because their borders were the mountains or the hills, the desert, which then turned into the hills, and then that was their natural border. So remember, the ancient Egyptians had natural borders: Mediterranean in the north, the cataracts or waterfalls in the south, and then you got the desert and the hills on the east and the west. Okay, so anything beyond that was a foreigner. So anyway, the tu is a plural nisbi ending. So kasetiu. So these are foreigners or people beyond the hill. All right, and I'm not getting into the story, and maybe I'm not sure if Emicat wants to elaborate on the story, just to give a little bit of backdrop of the story, which is very interesting. But what I'm doing right now is just give you where we're going to see the word Remetch. So we see Kasetiu is people of the foreign people or people of beyond the hill, beyond the mountains, beyond the hill. And then we have the word Keper. Everyone's familiar with the beetle. Keper means to come into existence, to evolve, to come into being, etc. Or to become, come into being, to be. Okay. Then we have the word Remetch. We have RM, and then we have Remetch. So remember what I told you all. We have the mouth, we have the tethering rope, the kneeling man with the arm extended, the seated woman, and the three strokes. So y'all see that. Then we have another owl, which is M, and then we have Set Nebet. So what is this saying here? This is saying that the people that are from the beyond, that are foreigners are becoming as Egyptians. Set Nebet, which the word set is place or seat. A seat, literally, or a place, And Neb or Nebet, in this case, it means all. So it's saying all places. That's another way of saying everywhere. So what this portion of this text is saying is that these foreigners are becoming Egyptians everywhere. All right, so I'll pass the mic over to Emika if you want to elaborate on what a little bit more of the context of why what's interesting about that.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this is first of all that text is coming from it's a text about when there's chaos in Kemet or in ancient Egypt, and they've lost order, Ma'at is gone, and things of that nature. So this is where you're seeing they're having these descriptions of just some calamities happening, and giving descriptions of those calamities. And one of that is actually here, where he's telling us that you have these foreigners who are coming and not leaving, and they themselves, those foreigners have actually become like the Egyptians themselves. So you see, it's very interesting in this text, where you actually see that that the foreigners who are very distinct, that we're being told those are not us. That's the Egyptians saying these people are not us, but now they're becoming like us. So you see that there's a distinction between the Egyptians themselves and those people. But in this sense, they're telling you those people, it's not that they are not human and all of a sudden they're becoming human or people or inhabitants or whatever it is. They're literally saying that these people are not us and now they're becoming us. So this is one of the places in the text where you see also the ancient Egyptians actually making a full distinction about other people, and then how those people actually become them, and they're using the word when they become like us. They're literally being the Remetch. That's why you see the word M, which means to be like or to be as, and or to become in that sense. And that's very interesting, because one of the arguments was about that the word Remetch just means people, and this is one of those texts that actually tells us that that the word Remetch itself can be used to mean people. We've always say that, but also when the Egyptians are using it, they're using it also to describe themselves in the instance where they need to differentiate themselves from other people. And we saw that with the so-called table of nations, where the minute they have to say this is us and that is them, then the word Remetch is invoked. It's not invoked to say everybody around the world. It's always invoked when to say that that we are us and they are them. And you see that the table of nations, and you see also that in this particular text where they're saying, wait a minute, these people actually becoming us.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So, let's back up a second. There was a claim that was made that the word Remetch, when you look it up in a dictionary, it will tell you that it means what I showed you all. It means mankind, human beings, humans, and people. And so, the logic of some people that want to make the claim, and specifically, with Chief X, a few days ago, was that the word Remetch doesn't mean Egyptians. It's a word for everybody. And then he made fun of the word by saying Remetch in CPT, which is a location in California. CPT, I forgot what exactly it stands for.
Done.
Oh, Compton. Okay. Well, see, there you go, Compton. I suspected that, Compton, CPT. I should have known if you listen to Snoop. So, you mean he's a person from Compton, but see, so this is where it gets silly, and I don't we want to keep it on the level of reality and information wise. So, the word Remetch means people, but when as Emiket said, when the ancient Egyptians needed to distinguish themselves and differentiate themselves from everybody else, they used the word Remetch for themselves, and they did not use the same word for other people. So notice here again. Let me make this bigger again. So notice here again, we have Kasetiu, which are foreigners. That's the word for foreigners. Those who belong to the beyond the hills. And they're becoming as Remetch. So let's take that logic. If the word Remetch simply meant human, or human being, then why would foreigners who are already human being all of a sudden become human being? You see how silly that would be? So context matters. And so in this context, in this particular text, the ancient Egyptians are saying that these people from beyond, these people who are not us, that are from foreign territories, they're becoming so plentiful in our country They're becoming us, and they're everywhere. That's why it says set nebet. They're everywhere. They're in all places. This literally means all places, all seats, all places. They're everywhere. So in other words, um, the immigration the immigration people start taking over, and we see that in neighborhoods, and even with the United States. They have border policies and stuff like that, where people just can't come over the border and just demographically or take over the demographics of different areas and so on and so forth. You see people complain about that, right? So that's what they're doing. All right. So I don't want to go too far, too much more into that, but that's an example.
Oh, another thing to add is that to keep it in context is that when you're talking about ancient times, people didn't have that privilege of actually traveling so far, or even if they traveled, they didn't have that privilege of actually thinking or having an inclusive nature of having solving their own problems while also keeping in mind of other people in other places, like we do now, where America might be doing something and have to consider Mexico and Canada into the equation. It's like, how does this affect, other countries? So when you see the word, Remetch being used to describe people itself, you have to understand that the Remetch themselves are actually seeing themselves as, the people, and not really focusing on other people outside, because and that goes with all different cultures in ancient times. You are the center of the world, so you're not really focused about other people. So when you say people in that context, you literally mean people, but you're talking about yourself and not the whole global world, as we have that luxury now. So that's why you have to know what they mean when they say Remetch, and actually mean people. They're talking about the people in the country themselves, but in that particular context.
Okay, excellent. Also, the same thing applies to the word world. Whenever you read texts of antiquity, especially the Bible, for those who either follow the Bible or read the Bible and familiar with the Bible, when you see ancient texts translate certain words as world, 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 it's not talking about the planet Earth and the entire Earth and things like that. It's talking about the world of the people themselves. So, for example, the entire stage and theater of the biblical events, places, places, and the events. Everything in the Bible is talking about a very narrow part of planet Earth, a very small part of the Earth. And so, whenever you see the world and things like that, it's only talking about that particular area. Although, in our minds today, the world is pretty much equivalent to the whole planet, the Earth. We say the world. Okay, so keep that in mind. Same thing for the word people. It wasn't like all of humanity, and things like that. All right, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so moving on. I want to go on to the next citation. And mind you, so I'm doing a couple of things at the same time. So y'all are witnessing a couple of things at the same time. One, confirming the meaning of Remetch, showing you all, the actual citations and the sources themselves, and then also answering questions from the previous live streams we had. Okay, so I'm doing all that at the same time. So the next source that we have is what's abbreviated as AEO. You see a Roman numeral 1, comma 100. And it's a very, is that it? Oh, no. So let's go and see what this is. Okay, so AEO, Roman numeral 1, and it is 100. And we're going to find out exactly what that is. And I believe I have that up right here. Okay, the AEO stands for Ancient Egyptian Onomastica, and is written by Gardner in 1947. Okay, and The 100 that you saw right here is page 100, and it's 100 with an asterisk. The Roman numeral 1 here is volume 1. So it's the Ancient Egyptian Onomastica, volume 1, page 100, and it has an asterisk. So if I go to the actual source, you see here, get my arrow here, 100 has an asterisk. This is Gardner's actual book, page 100. So mind you, I have the whole book, but I'm only, sharing one page, the relevant page. All right. So let's find what is going on. Why did Faulkner cite this? And so let's read. I'm going to read from, well, obviously there's on page 99, there was some information that runs into page 100. So I'm going to skip this partial first paragraph here, and we're going to start right here. And let me move this out the way so I can blow this up, because I want you all to read with me. Now, this is handwritten as well. And see, and that's also a testimony to the silly behavior that people have to make fun of books that are handwritten. Like, who does that? I mean, it would be odd today because we don't see handwritten books today. But this book was written in 1947. All right. Okay, so we're going to read from here. So in early times, the four terms are never found in contrast with one another. Now, let me give you a little context here, because like I said, I'm only sharing page 100, but if you were to read, more of the context, here Gardner is explaining key terms in the Egyptian language that refers to different classes of people. Okay, so just keep that in mind. He's talking about different classes of people in the Egyptian society, and even how they words they use for foreigners and so on and so forth. All right, so we're just in this section. So again, in early times, the four terms are never found in contrast with one another. And it is not until the early Middle Kingdom that the word pot, which is this word here, let me get my cursor over here, pot, and the word rekit are so found. So he's saying here that the word pot and the word rekit are found early in the Middle Kingdom, not before, because he says not until early Middle Kingdom. They are the only two to be thus contrasted, and they always occur in that order, meaning pot first and then rekit next, in terms of social hierarchy. Consequently, it is necessary to discuss the four terms separately. The word, and here's the word. Remember the glyphs I told you all to memorize. We have the open mouth, the tethering rope, the kneeling man with the arm extended, the seated woman, and the three strokes. That is the word Remetch, and he transliterates it RMT with a line under it. Same thing that Faulkner has. You see here, RMT with a line under it. All right, let's go back. So the word Remetch, the most general of them, is the commonest word for man. And though in the New Kingdom, it was occasionally used for Egyptians. Okay, so you see that? As opposed to Asiatics, which are the Amu, the Nubians, which are the Nehisiu, and the Libyans, the Chimehu. And then Gardner himself gives a source. He says, see the Wordplay, Volume 2, which is WB, Wordplay, Volume 2, page 423, entry number 4. Let me scoot this up so y'all can see that. Wordplay, Volume 2, page 423, entry number 4. Word number 4 on that page. So he said, together with the famous pictures in the tomb of Seti the First. Now, what is Gardner talking about here? He's talking about the Book of Gates, where you have the so-called Table of Nations, or the so-called four races of mankind. This is how people describe it. And they shouldn't describe it that way, but I'm just saying this so you be familiar with what Gardner is talking about. So remember, Seti the First was a 19th dynasty king. He's the father of Ramses II, the great Ramses II, the OG Ramses. So he's in the 19th dynasty. And so Gardner is saying that in the Middle Kingdom, in the New Kingdom, the word Remetch, although it's a word for man, it was used in the New Kingdom for the word Egyptians as opposed to the Amu, the Nehisiu, and the Chemehu, which are respectively Asiatics, Nubians, and Libyans. So in other words, when as we said already, and Emiket said this earlier, when the ancient Egyptians want to distinguish themselves from others, they took on the name Remetch. So my beginning question, what did the ancient Egyptians refer to themselves as? What did they call themselves? The answer is the Remetch. Okay? Just that simple. What else can we get from here? This employment is secondary, and the word needs no further consideration here. You see? So he said, like, hey, it's self-evident. Don't even have to talk about it anymore. Then he says, of the other three, talking about the other three words, Rakit is that concerning which we have the most information, and may, therefore, be fitly studied first. And so then he proceeds to go through and explain the word Rakit. That's the glyphs for it, and that's the transliteration, etc. So I'm not going to continue forward with that. All right? So we bounce from Faulkner's dictionary to the sources he cited, and we're further enforcing and cementing the fact that the word Remetch does, in fact, mean Egyptian when necessary. Because when the Egyptians are not around other people, when they're not around foreigners, when they're not around other ethnic groups, it's a word for mankind. Because as Emiket said, and as I gave the example of the word world, you're only talking about yourselves. There's no need to make distinctions and so on and so forth. So I hope y'all follow that. All right. What's next? Let's go back over here. Is anything else? Okay, so now I'm going to move over and answer a question from last night. I answered it last night, but the brother seemed to not really get it. And then there was another brother that my answer, he was satisfied with my answer, but I was not able to show an example last night. So I want to show that here. So Raymond Faulkner says that there's a variation of the word Remetch with the owl. So let me reiterate the brother's question. The question was, how do we know that the word Remetch has an M in it at all? And I'm paraphrasing his question. And if so, why did they omit the glyph for it? And that's the part I answered thoroughly, but I didn't show an example. So I'm going to show this example here. So we see the R, we see the owl, then we see the tethering rope and the three strokes. Okay, the mouth represents R, the owl represents the M, as in Mary, and the tethering rope is the T, the capital T or the T with the underline. Remetch. All right. Now, where is this? So Faulkner gives a clue. He says it's in the pyramid text, PYR, pyramid text, utterance 400 or spell 400. So let's go to the pyramid text and find it. All right. So we're going to switch over to the pyramid text. So now we have the actual primary. We're not relying on a scholar reproducing the glyphs and drawing them. We are actually looking at the tomb of Winnes. All right, people say Unes or Unis, but his name is Winnes. All right, Winnes. And how do I know that? I'll show you the glyphs for that right now. So this is pyramid text 400. Now I'm going to move this out the way because I'm going to have to blow this up so you all can see it. So just notice this pyramid text 400. And I'll blow this up. I think that's pretty good. So on the name of the pyramid owner, the tomb owner, is King Winnes or Winnes. And you see his name. Let me get my cursor here. You see his name in what most people call a cartouche, but we know as a chenu. You see the hare or rabbit, which is transliterated with a WN, win. We have a water ripple, which is a complement, represents an N. And then we have, let me do it correctly this way. Then we have the reed leaf, which is transliterated as an I, and then the folder cloth as an S. Win S or win is or winnies. Okay? And some people say unis instead of winnis. But that's his name. So remember what we're looking for. We're looking for the open mouth, the owl, the tethering rope, because we're concerned with the owl for the word Remetch, because most of the time the owl is missing. All right, so let's find it. Now for time's sake, obviously what we would have to do is we would have to comb through each column and find the word. So I'm going to do that quick. I'm not, I'm not trying to give a hieroglyphic class lesson like that tonight, but I'm going to go through. So we're going to find a word. Now see, and I don't want you to think like, I do have to explain something. So anybody who's learning the Sesh Medew Netcher or the hieroglyphic writing system at a beginner's level, when you first see glyphs like this, you're going to see glyphs as individual pictures. Like, you say, okay, this is a bird, that's a bird, this is something, you're just going to see pretty pictures because as a beginner, you're not going to recognize words because your mind is not going to parse words. It's going to parse individual pictures. It's almost equivalent to someone who doesn't know anything about English, can't read English, but then they're shown a newspaper or magazine with a bunch of characters on it. They're not going to recognize words outside of the spaces that separate them. If it weren't for the spaces in our orthography, in English orthography, people wouldn't know where one word ends and another one begins if they're just learning the language. But those of us who learn and know English as a first language, as a mother tongue, we can remove the spaces and we can still read. And I've proven that with every audience that I've ever done that with. I'm not gonna do it now. But anyway, so I wanted to say that for me, when I see this, I see words. Okay. And so in kind of scanning through here quickly, I know what the word Remetch looks like. And so as long as I can move the picture around and see things, I'll find it, pretty quickly. So give me a moment, because I'm gonna save you all the time. Otherwise, we're gonna walk down every single place, every single glyph. All right, so let me shrink this a little bit though, because I have to move things around too much. All right, so now I can see everything. So we're gonna find this word Remetch here. All right, so we're gonna be let's see. We're gonna see how fast we can find it. And lo and behold, nope, I was wrong. Here we go. Right here. So you see where my arrow is? It's right here. But I gotta blow it up so you all can see the glyphs of it. I shrunk it so I could just see more of the picture. Now let's blow it up. Now that we know where it is, I'm gonna blow it up so y'all can see it really good. Okay, I think that's big enough. And there it is. So we see the, man, I gotta make it a little bit bigger. Okay. You see that? Bring it down some. So we have the R, we have the open mouth, which is transliterated as an R. We have the owl, which is transliterated as an M, represents the consonant M. There's your tethering rope. We transliterate as a capital T or a T with a line under it. Remetch. Okay. So I want you all to see that. So that is an example and an attestation of the word remetch spelled out inclusive of the owl. Now, nobody asked me this question last night, but a follow-up question that I would have if somebody was teaching me this or sharing this with me, I would say, well, why is the owl here and not in, other texts and so on and so forth? And so the answer, I answered that by answering another question last night, but now that I have this on the screen, what you'll notice is that the pyramid texts are in columns and not rows. It may be some portions of the pyramid text in rows, but the majority of it is in columns. And in columns, the scribe treated the bird glyphs a little bit more liberally. When they wrote in rows, it created a slight problem. And I went over that last night with this quadrant system of them focusing on the aesthetics or the beauty of the writing system, the beauty of the glyphs. Okay, so that's one difference. All right, so just keep that in mind. But here we see the word winnies or winnis. Again, and I gotta shrink this because this is definitely pretty big. But we have winnis again. We have the word Remetch. We have unk. We see the unk here. We have Netcheru. We have Neb. We have Enu, which are people who pay tribute or what they call porters. So he's the Lord of Porters. What else? And commander of messengers. Wet to you. Or wet. All right, messengers. But now, if I were to show this glyph, now it may be blurry on the screen because I blew it up so far it's kind of pixelated. But this is the word wenhem, which means to eat. Now, this portion of the pyramid text, I can tell just from this section here, this portion of the pyramid text is what's famously called the cannibal hymn. I was about to say cannabis hymn, but it's the cannibal hymn, where the king is said to eat people and eat the gods and so on and so forth, or live off the gods. And that's what it's saying. Wenhem Remetch, he who eats the people and who lives on the gods, the Netcheru, Lord of the porters or tributes, and commander or sends messages, etc., etc. It goes on. All right, but just to give you a little context of here. But the point here is to show you the word Remetch with the owl. Okay? So hopefully the brother who was concerned about that, hopefully he'll check this out in the archive or because I can't see the chat right now. And if you're there, then shout out to you. All right, so that's that. All right, so what is next? What's next that we have to show? Okay, so now I want to move. I want to show you a another resource, scholarly work that talks about the Egyptians' attitude towards themselves. So we're gonna move to this particular book. Is called Egyptian Religion. It's by Siegfried Morenz, and I just have the actual pages of the book here, and I know it's maybe small for you all to read it, so I'll just blow it up a bit, and we're just gonna go through a bit of it. Okay, so starting here. Matter of fact, this is from page. What page is it? Page 7. So the book is Egyptian Religion by Siegfried Morenz, and this is page 47. All right, and we're gonna start here. The Egyptocentric outlook. So Egypt-centeredness. All right. The outlook, the inhabitants, the Egyptians themselves. So let's just read. What holds good for the country is also true of its inhabitants. If Egypt was the nucleus and center of the earth, the Egyptians were naturally its only legitimate inhabitants. That speaks to what Emicat was saying earlier. How different people saw themselves as the center of their universe. This is clear from the way in which concepts were originally limited to a single politico-religious group came to mean man and mankind. So y'all get that? In general, man and mankind in general. So let me just pause here. So what he's saying is that the Egyptians' view of Egypt being, all that and a bag of chips, and they being the inhabitants of Egypt, then they were the center, Egyptocentric. They were the center of everything in terms of their conceptual view with the rest of the grander or bigger world. All right. And so the word Remetch is what he's saying is that the concept were originally limited to a single political religious group came to mean man and mankind in general. All right, so let's keep going. The Egyptians themselves compiled encyclopedic lists of these words, and the whole question has been thoroughly investigated. We know, for example, that the concept of pot, there's that word again, pot, because remember, Gardner addressed that as well, which later merely had the general meaning of mankind, originally denoted the primeval inhabitants of Egypt at the time when the earth was separated from the sky and the earth god Geb ruled upon the earth. Let's keep going. We may consider here in some detail that most important of these concepts, particularly since they have not as yet been studied adequately. The word in question is Remetch. Let me get my trusty arrow so y'all keep up with where I am, if just in case you can't see it. The word in question is Remetch. You see how he transliterates it again? RMT with an underline under it. Which definitely came to mean human being. In this sense, it is used to distinguish men from God or from animals. It may also mean man, as distinct from woman or boy. Now, there's reliable information to show that the word Remetch originally had a restricted meaning. At the beginning of the Old Kingdom, the admonitions of Ipuwer, which is the book that we showed earlier, but it was called the Admonitions of an Egyptian Sage. That's what Gardner entitled his book. Okay. The admonitions of Ipuwer contain a lament that foreigners are pouring into northern Egypt and gaining power there. Y'all remember that? We just read that. Near the beginning of the surviving text, we read the tribes of the desert, that's the Kassetiu. Remember I said the word Kassetiu? Have become Egyptians. Remetch, everywhere. They become Egyptians everywhere. Let me scroll this up a little bit, push this up a bit. Here, in view of the antithesis, Remetch cannot, on my account, mean man, but rather means Egyptian, whose incontestable ancestral rights have been appropriated by foreigners. So they're basically saying, look, foreigners are coming in and taking, they multiplying. Man, these people are just streaming in or having babies and whatnot. Now listen, let me put a pin in that for a second. Doesn't it sound familiar? So check this out. This is the argument that people are having who are Bible followers or Abrahamic people who believe the Abrahamic traditions, or simply people who just know about the Bible. Because check this out. This sounds eerily similar to when in ancient Egypt, the so-called Hebrews came into Egypt because of a famine in the land of Canaan or whatever, and Moses was born in Egypt and all that kind of stuff, and the Hebrews started to multiply. Remember the story? I know y'all seen the movie 10 Commandments. And then when the Hebrews got so, they multiplied so much, they were like, nah, y'all got to go. Y'all got to get up out of here. There's too many of y'all. And remember the complaining? This sounds the same, doesn't it? This sounds the same. So anyway, let's keep going. Where was I? Oh, incontestable ancestral rights have been appropriated by foreigners, wrongfully and contrary to the natural order. Elsewhere, too, Remetch are mentioned alongside other peoples and are evidently a term denoting people. This meaning even asserts itself at a time when the general tendency is towards universalism, and when Remetch, as we shall see directly, had long since acquired the meaning of man. We have in mind the scenes in the so-called, guess what it is, the Book of Gates. One of the guides through the netherworld recorded, and let's move on to the next page. Let me shrink this back up. So that's from page 47, and we're going to move on to the next page. Right here. This is page 48 and 49. I'm going to blow this up so y'all can see it. We're going to read a little bit more. All right, there we go. Wait, where were we? Let me read the last sentence. We have in mind the scenes in the so-called Book of Gates, one of the guides through the netherworld, recorded in the tombs, in the royal tombs of the Ramesside era. The tomb of Seti I, Merneptah. Let me get my arrow. Seti I, Merneptah, Seti II, Ramses III, and Ramses VI. And also in the Osirion at Abydos or Abju. In these guides, which represent the creation of human races by Heru or Horus, the Egyptians are referred to as the Remetch, in contrast to their neighbors. Here, the term in question is again used to designate a people, since it is on the same level with the other names referring to the Egyptians' mighty neighbors. Its character as a nomen proprium is further enhanced by the fact that Remetch, like the terms for Asiatic, Amu, Negroes, Nehisiu, and Libyans, Chemehu, is made up of plays on words and is given an etymological explanation. Okay? So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to explain that what he's saying last right here. So what is he saying? Its character as a nomen proprium is further enhanced. That means it's further confirmed or enhanced by the fact that the Remetch, like the other terms, which are the Asiatics, the Negroes, and Libyans, which specifically is Amu, Nehisiu, and Libyans, or Chemehu, are made up of plays on words and is given an etymological explanation. Remember that, y'all. All right. So let's explain that, expound on that, and this will be the last thing that I want to share with y'all. But I want to break this down for y'all so it'll be very, very clear. So now we're going to move over to the Book of Gates, and I want to show you the famous picture. Once I can get my screen, I'm gonna have to come out of here. Bear with me one moment. I'm gonna switch over. One second. That little awkward silence. Awkward silence. All right, so you all should be able to see my picture. Now I gotta get my cursor over here. Okay. Can y'all see it? Yeah, y'all should be able to see it. All right. Now I have this blown up, but let me back off of it a little bit. Let me back off, shrink this down a little bit, because I'm gonna tell y'all where we are. I can't just be showing y'all pictures, and I'll be just as guilty as the lookership crew. Just showing pictures and saying they mean anything. I guess, see, that's an alien. That's a spaceship right there. See that staff? That's a snake staff. That's a staff, but it's a snake. It really represents electricity. See, electricity, and it's electricity coming out. It's a light bulb coming out now. But okay, so what you're looking at is an actual photo from the tomb of Seti I in a specific portion. Now I went over this last night in terms of giving orientation, but this is from the tomb of Seti I. This is the text called the Book of Gates. Specifically, the gate, one of the gates is right here, this red area, rectangle area, and these hinges is a door or a gate, and is guarded by a deity in the form of a serpent. All right, so this is one of the gates, and in this portion of the gate, this is the 5th hour within the Book of Gates. You'll see Heru behind 16 figures. Now you don't see all 16 right here, because there's a corner of the tomb. Right here is a corner, and the wall bends 90 degrees because it's at a corner. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures, and then you'll see 6 more on this wall that's not in the picture. Okay, now first group, and I went over this, are the Egyptians, and you see the word Remetch here. All right, so let me blow this up now, and you'll be able to see it. So let me get this here so you can see Heru is here. Now this wall is damaged because obviously these are thousands of years old, and they're not in this pristine state. But you have Heru here. You have 4 identical figures representing the ancient Egyptians. These are the Remetch. How do we know? We can read the glyphs. It says, you see the mouth, open mouth, that you all should be familiar with by now. The tethering rope, the kneeling man with his arm extended, the seated woman, the paint is faded, but you see the seated woman, and you see the 3 strokes. Okay? But that's not the point that I want to make. The point I want to make is tonight, we're going to read this text. Okay? And we're going to find out what the scholar meant when he said that the nomen proprium is reinforced by the fact that the ancient Egyptians played on words to describe these different names of people: the Remetch, the Amu, the Nehisiu, and the Chimehu, who are the Egyptians, the Asiatics, the Nubians, and the Libyans, respectively. Okay? So let's find out what it is. Now, because the whole text is cut off right here on this wall, I'm going to use a reproduction of it that was done by Carl Lepsius. Okay, and that is this particular picture right here. Now the glyphs up here are too small, I'm sure, for you all to see. So I'm gonna kind of blow this up portion for portion, a couple of columns at a time. All right. And we're going to just read these glyphs here until we identify the names. All right. So let's see if I can zoom in. I had another one that's up a bit right here. And I definitely need my arrow. I hope y'all still with me because I can't see the chat. I could be sitting here talking to myself. I could be talking to myself and nobody is watching. That's crazy. Oh boy. But hey, this is for the archive. All right. So like I said, I'm not trying to give a hieroglyphic lesson or a Sesh Netcher beginner's course or lesson tonight. Although I'll be happy to do so, but we have classes for that, and maybe all the links for all that good stuff is in the description. But right now, I just want to get through it because I want to make a point. It's going to reinforce other points here. Okay, so just as an FYI, this particular text, I will tell you this about the glyphs. When you read the hieroglyphic writing system, or Sesh Netcher as we call it, you always read into the glyphs, which means that you're going to read facing the glyphs as if you're having a conversation with the pictures. So in other words, if the bird is facing to the right, or if the glyphs are facing to the right, you're going to be facing them, which means you're going to read from right to left. You're going to read into them. That's no different than how we talk to each other. Nobody wants to talk to the back of somebody's head, right? So that's an easy rule to remember. Now, with that rule, some mistakes that beginners may make, understandably, is that they think that read the columns in the same direction all the time, as if that was a rule. And that's not the rule. The rule is that you read the glyphs facing them all the time. But some inscriptions are called columnar retrograde inscriptions. All that means is a fancy way of saying that the columns are in reverse order. Not the glyphs themselves, but the columns. So instead of intuitively, you would think that you start over here because the glyphs are facing to the right and you're going to read from right to left this way. No, you read from right to left, but within the column. So you read in the column from right to left. Then you go to the next column, is a separate column. But the column order is in this direction. That's why we start over here. So the beginning of this text is right. The beginning of this portion of the text is right here. That's why I have number 1 there. So that's for all you smart out there that may see this and be like, well, Jao was wrong. You're supposed to read from right to left. Why does he have number 1 over there on the left? It's supposed to be on the right. Well, that's just not true. This is called retrograde, columnar retrograde. We just shorten it to retrograde inscription. The Book of the Dead does the same thing. I could point out many texts that do it. So anyway, so we're going to start here. So now, for speed, I'm just going to go through the text. So we have in heru, ni, nen, ni, and then we have the word out, ra. And I wonder if I should pause every time and just and explain. That may take too long. But all right, I'll just keep going. So I'm gonna stop at a certain point so that you all can just to lay it out and we could discuss. So we have this is just FYI and plus for the archive, so you can go back and maybe you can take some notes on this. We have in heru, ni nen ni, out ra. Then we have imiu, duat, the word duat here. Then we have the word kemet or kemet. Okay. Then we have desheret. All right. So, and I guess I could pause to explain what that part says. So in Heru is a way to start off a narration. So it says by Heru. So it's something that Heru is saying, and he's saying it of or to the cattle is out. This is the word for cattle, the cattle of Ra. So he's a shepherd here, figuratively speaking, a shepherd, and these 16 figures that's in front of him is his flock, or the flock of Ra that he's speaking to. And this is just introductory wording, what I read. So it's words by, or a narration by Heru to the flock or to the cattle of Ra, who are within the duat. So this is taking place in the duat. All right, taking place in the duat. But the duat of what or where? The duat of Kemet and Deshret, which means the riparian zone and the arid dry area, the fertile area and the infertile area of Kemet. Okay, so that's just what I read so far. Okay. Now to keep going, and I believe if I keep doing that through this whole thing, it's gonna take forever, because I'm trying to get to the point where you all can understand the names. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get to the name. So what I want y'all to see is, because I'll read this whole thing, and I'll start a show, and that'll be what the entire show is about. We can go through this whole translation. And I actually did this before. It's in the archives, but I definitely don't mind doing it again. But what I want to get to is right over here in column 13. You see in column 13, you see the word Remetch. And actually, you can see it in the actual tomb, which is why I had it blown up. So you see right here, Remetch. We had the open mouth, tethering rope, the kneeling man with the arm extended, seated woman, and the 3 strokes. Okay, but I'm gonna go back to this one so we can see it. Now, so what does the scholar mean when he said that the names are reinforced by a play on words? So if I go back here where I left off at, we're gonna see that the cattle of Ra, which is here, you have Awud Ra again, is transfiguring. So we have the word Aket here, and then to them, or chin. You see this plural word here is the word is a plural form. It's Aket in chin, which means something that happened in the past, transfigured. Out Ra, which is the cattle of Ra. Then we have Keper, Kenti. Then we have the word pet for sky. All right. Now, what does that mean? That means now remember, Heru is the one presenting this wording here. He's saying transfiguration to you, or to you all, not you as in singular you, second person, is to you all, the cattle of Ra, Out Ra, which came into being through the great one who is in the sky. All right. So that's what that says so far. So far so good. This is not hitting the point yet. But let's keep going. Because I'll do this portion for the Remetch, and then we'll fast forward to the other ones. To keep going, where we leave off, we have this glyph here, which is the word tau, this glyph, and it continues here, tau, ni, fenju. All right. And this word fenju, and then we have chin, which is you all. It's a suffix pronoun for you all, not you a second person, but you all as in second person plural. You all. And to keep going, we have sen fek, ni, wetu, chin. You all again. Now I know when I say all this stuff, y'all probably like, what is he saying, or whatever the case is. So what does that mean? So I'm gonna stop here and explain what that means. Let's go back to tau, right? Tau is the word for wind or breath, to breathe. The word fenedu or fenedu is the word for nose, the nose that we all breathe out of. So it's saying breath need to your noses, you all's noses. Breath to y'all's noses. Safek, excuse me, what's this word? Safek is the word for unraveling something. To loosen or unravel something. And what are they unraveling? They're unraveling the wet. The singular word wet is the word for mummy wrappings. Okay, but this is the plural. Wet, which is the plural. And it's you all's chin, you all's mummy wrappings. So it's saying breath to your noses, and unraveling your mummy wrappings. You all's mummy wrappings. Okay, so now we're going to get to the nitty gritty of the point that I want to make right here, coming up. So where did I leave off at? So we are at here. So we have the word enchutin. Then we have the word remit. Then we have aketi, Renchin, Remetch. Actually, Renchin ni Remetch. What does that mean? Let's go back. Entuchen is the word for you all. Remit is the word for tears. Now here's where you got to pay attention. This is the determinative for the word remit. In this case specific, it says remich. See that tethering rope there? Remich. And you see the determinative with the eye with something coming down from the eye as if the eye is crying or tearing up. So it says that you all are the tears. Then it has the word aketi, which is my effective or my brilliant what? Eye. Then it says M in you all's name. Ren is the word for name. Chen is the second person plural pronoun for you all. So you all are tears of my brilliant or effective eye. In you all's name of what? The Remetch. So why am I bringing this up? Because the scholar told us that these names are reinforced by a play on words. So where's the play of words? The play of words is the word Remetch with the word Remetch. So what the Egyptians cleverly did was they gave us the figurative etymology of their name, which is also reinforced in another text that I can go into, the Book of Knowing the Transformation of Ra and Overthrowing of Apep, where the Egyptians come from the tears of Ra, where this is explaining. This is what this is talking about. They come from Ra's brilliant eye or effective eye. When the eye left, he started weeping, and from those tears came the Remetch. Where they come from? They came from the Remetch, which is coming from the verb remi. The verb remi means to cry, to tear up. Remu is tears itself. Remu or Remetch. And we see this here. So there's a play on the words of Remetch and Remetch. There's a link being made between tears and the ancient Egyptians. The word for it. All right, let's move on. Now I'm not going to read every column for the next group. I just want to go straight to the play on the words because I don't want to take too much time. I'm taking too much time already. So let's keep going. Where I leave off. So now we have the word ah. Now I know you all may not be able to see this clear because it's blurry. I had to blow this up, and it's not a really good reproduction in the first place. What I have, and if we go through the whole thing line by line or column by column, I'll make sure I have a bigger, clearer one. But this word is ah. See, we have ah, mu. Then we have ni. Then we have sakeper again. Then we have in, chin. That's that suffix, second person plural suffix again, chin. You see me say chin throughout this whole text so far. Okay, so yeah, amu, ni, sakeper, in chin. So far. M, and then ren chin again. See ren and then chin in the plural over here. Let me show you where it was over here. We have the mouth, the water ripple, and then we have the word chin. Ren chin. But we had ren chin right before the name of the Egyptians. But look at this over here. We have ren chin again, and guess who they're going to mention? They're going to mention the Amu. Who are the Amu? The Amu are the Asiatics. That's these folks. You see two figures right here. The Amu. But where's the play on the words, though? The play on words is also where I began. Amu. See, it says Amu, ni, sakeper, inchin, rinchin, Ahmu. So Ahmu, Ahmu. The Ahmu here means something different than the Ahmu here, where their name is. That's the play on words. But what does it mean? So Ahmu, the first Ahmu, right here, means ah and then mu. It's two words. Ah, which means great or big. Great or big. Like we say Netcher ah, we're saying the great God. So ah is the great one of water, or the great waters. All right. Or in this sense, it'd be great is the waters of him who brought into existence or created. Either way you say created or brought into existence, you or you all, in the name Imren, in you all's name of Amu. So Amu, as the Asiatics, is being compared to as Ah and Mu, which means great waters. Okay, so you see the play on words there? And we could do the same thing for the Nahisiu, but they're not on this image here that I have right here. And up here, you can see the text up here. That's too small. Let me see if I can blow that up. Right here. Okay, so we left off. Get my cursor over here. We left off with these two figures, and so just to show you where we were, we have the ahmu. That's the second word, ahmu. Not this one. This one right here, we have ah and then mu, and then we have ni, sekeper, and chin, im, ren, shin, ahmu, which are the Asiatics. You have their name right here in between them. The throat stick, the owl, the quail chick, the three strokes. All these glyphs right here spell out ahmu. These four figures right here are the Asiatics. They are the Asiatics. Next to them, we could scroll, push this down a bit. I mean, it goes on to say that Sekhmet came into existence for them, and she protects their souls. So you see the word Ba right here. You see Sekhmet right here. This is her name, Sekhmet. And came into existence. So literally it says came into existence Sekhmet to protect their souls. Okay. So but I only did that because I want y'all to I want to show you all that I'm skipping, because I don't want to read everything in between. I'm trying to get to the name of the people and just keep on going. Okay. So where are we at? So we stopped at Sekhmet souls. Okay. So we have the word again. We have let's see, what do we have? We have the word Entu Chin again. Then we have Nin. Then we have a word Huyin E. See, Huyin E. And like I said, I'm not trying to break down every glyph so y'all can know that which one is the H and stuff like that. But I'm doing my best by using this arrow. So we have Hu. Then we have Yin E. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Then we have Sin. Then we have Hotep E. See the word Hotep? Hotep E. Hey. Then we have Per E. Per E. And then here was that magical word again, Renchin. So we have Per E. Excuse me, Per E. Renchin. And guess what's going to come after that? When you say Renchin, you're going to see a name. And look at the name. Nehisiu. Nehisiu right here. But where's the play on words? The play on words is going backwards. This word right here. Huyeni Sin. That's the play on words to define Nehisi. And so what does that mean? So what all this means is Entu Chen is a word for you all. And it's saying that this is the word Huyeni is a verb meaning to strike, to hit. And the E on the end is a first person singular pronoun. I, who I struck or I strike against. So he's saying that you all are those who I struck against. Then he goes on to say that I am content. Hotepi, I am content. I am satisfied, or I am at peace. Then you know what hey means? This particular hey means millions, which to them is a long time. So nihi is eternity. Hey is a word for millions. Or as we say, what Trump say, billions and billions and billions and billions. But no, this is millions. Or he's content. He's definitely satisfied for a long time. But satisfied with what? The million per me, who come forth from me, who came or come forth from me. Then it goes on to say, came forth from me, in Renshin, your name, Nahisiu. So the Nahisiu are those who he struck. Now, what's the significance of that? We all know that the Nahisiu were one of the 9 bows of ancient Egypt, and they're the ones who were the enemies of ancient Egypt. Which, by the way, goes, contrary to people saying, these particular Nisu. This is why I don't use the word Nubians, because they say, the Nubians and Egyptians are the same, and this and a third. But they're talking about these Nahisiu, though, not knowing that the real Nubians are Egyptians. But that's a whole nother conversation. But even in the styling or etymological explanation that the Egyptians are giving us for their name, they're calling them the enemies. He's saying that you all, into Chin, you are those who I struck. And that's how you all are to be named, the Nahisiu, based on the fact that you all are those who I struck. Okay, so that's that. And let's go on further. We're going to find out about these Chimehu. We're not going to let them off the hook. Now I'm skipping the part where, again, we see Sekhmet, because Sekhmet comes into play again. And, oh no, not Sekhmet this time. It's Heru. Heru is the protector of their souls. Okay, so you see Heru, and then, the protector of the Ba. You have Ba'u right here, their souls. Okay, so that's just want to, I'm skipping all that good stuff. Okay. Now let's move over to here. So we have this word hey. We have heyin e. Okay, heyeni right here. Then we have eret, which is, well, I'm not going to say what it is yet. We have eret. Then we have the word keper. Keper in chin. Keper in chin. Then we have m as an owl, m. And you know what's going to come next. M ren chin. And then somebody's name. We have the word chimehu. Chime or chimhu. So where's the wordplay? The wordplay for this one, chimehu, is in the word heyin. This word here, heyin-e, iret. Those 2 words form a phrase that gives us a clue to their name or why they're called Chimehu. So what is the connection? Or let me just tell you what this means first. So what this means is saying that where it says Keper, we know that it means come into existence. Right? You all know come into existence. So came into existence. Well, the word. Well, let me start with the word we started with. Heyeni. It's a verb. Heyin, and you see these walking legs here. I don't know if y'all can make that out, but these walking legs here is a determinative to show that movement is occurring. Okay, it's a determinative for movement. And this word, heyin, is a word that means to seek, to search out. Okay? And we have heyin-e, which is I searched. So I want y'all to follow me. I searched. What was searched? I searched for my eye. The word iret is the word for eye. My eye. Iret-e. If I can move this out the way. Iret-e. My eye. When, and then we have chin. Keper in chin. When you all came into existence. Then it says, in you all's name, Ren Chin, as Chimehu. So now, having said that, where's the connection between Chimehu and whatever was said previously? Well, guess what? When the deity searched for his eye, this is the portion of the story. Now, you have to be familiar with the Egyptian stories in other places in the culture, because remember what I said before: when the eye was lost, Ra wept, and from the tears of Ra came the Remetch, from the tears itself. Remi produced Remetch. It's the seeking of the eye that produced the Chimehu. So I hope y'all follow, because this is what happened in the story. Heru's eye was lost or stolen or taken by Satuk. And it was the refilling of the eye, or placement of the eye, that represented triumph over Satuk. So the word Chimehu is a play on the word Chem or Tem, which is a negation, and then the word Mehu. The word Mehu means to fill something up, to fill a void. When the eye was stolen, it left a void that had to be filled up, which is the word Mehu. But if you say Tem Mehu, which means not filled, Satuk still reigns. It's the filling of the eye that Satuk is defeated. By the eye, or by the void not being filled, which is the word Tem Mehu, Satuk is still in control or winning. And so the Chimehu, or the Libyans, are seen as another group, are enemies of the ancient Egyptians, coming from the desert area in which Satuk rules. Remember, Satuk is the deity of the desert area, the arid area, the Cheret. So I hope y'all follow that. So here, right here in this text, the ancient Egyptians are telling us the etymological, the figurative, the etymology to all of the figurative aspects of these names and the connections. But the only way you're going to know the things that I'm saying is if we cut out the clown stuff, cut out the drama, cut out all the silly stuff and the microwaving stuff, and really crack books open and study by going into the language, by going into the culture, by the literature review of the scholarly works that came before us, and add to the body of information, and so on and so forth. Because it's right here in front of us. We don't have to make up stuff and say, oh, the Remetch don't mean Egyptians. That's stupid. Or the Nubians, and Egyptians are the same, and so on and so forth. They're not. Not the Nubians that people think they're talking about. Let me put it that way. The Nehisiu are not the Remetch. This word here, Nehisiu, see the word in between them? It's translated and spoken of by most people as Nubians. They translate this word Nehisi as Nubians. You can clearly see the Egyptians made a point to distinguish themselves from the Nubians. The Egyptians came into existence from Ra crying. The Nubians, or as they call them, the Nubians, the Nehisiu, came into existence because they were people who he struck against. They're distinct. In the eyes of the Egyptians, they're distinct. But in the eyes of the YouTube scholar, the Google scholar, the pseudos out here, they're going to say something different. Now, the real Nubians, the ones that rightfully should be called Nubians, are the ancient Egyptians themselves. Because Nubia, the rightful Nubia, as an actual place, is in Egypt. Today it's called Kom Ombo, and another one called Ombos. But in Egyptian times, it was called Nubit, which is the word for gold. It was called Gold Town. And the people who lived there would have been or would be called by us the dwellers of Nubit, which would be Nubians, if we modernize the term. So the original Nubians are Egyptians. But the Nubians people talk about are really the Nehisiu that you see on the screen, and they're not the Egyptians. They live south. They live in a place called Ta Nehisi. Okay, so keep that in mind. So anyway, I know I have already gone way over in this explanation, slowed it down a little too much. And so let me stop sharing, and I will see if anybody want to come on this panel or have questions for me, or if you feel that I was incorrect with anything, I welcome you to join the panel or type into the chat. So let me take this off the screen real big and see what's up with the chat. So I can pay attention to chat. So shout out to anybody who's watching. Okay, so I'm not alone. So all right, I thought I'm sitting there thinking I'm talking to myself. Boy, talking to myself. So what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Yeah, that was good. That was you definitely slowed it down on this one. I think people are now like the word Remetch, because usually we started calling ancient Egyptians Remetch. I know that's one of the things that you did in your book, where you wanted people to use the indigenous terms that you find in the Sesh. But even though people use the word Remetch, they do not really like, most people don't go and think about what is behind the word itself. So I think with this, what you've done today, that was definitely slow walking people into what the Remetch is, and I guess so it's very clear on what it means, even when it's being used as people and as ancient Egyptians.
Okay. Shout out to Garfield. I see Garfield is in the chat. I can see the chat, you all. I'm trying to scroll up and everything. I'm gonna give a shout out to Garfield. Um, I call, you know how everybody call Unc the God Killer, and so when people call Unc the God Killer, he calls himself the God Killer. I used to call Garfield the Hebrew Killer. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why he didn't adopt that name. You know, the Hebrew Killer. You know what I'm saying? You got the God Killer and you got the Hebrew Killer, because Garfield stays on the heads of the Hebrews. I would definitely got to give it up to Garfield. Stays in it. You know what I'm saying? And I really think that that's really good to narrow a focus and gain mastery in it. And so I encourage that. You know, when people focus on a certain area of studies, and it don't have to be like one single thing. You know, I know we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but it's really good to focus on at least a limited number of things, so that everybody so that when you do that, you get better and better and better and better. And so I have seen Garfield over the years just expand knowledge and break down, you know, from the biblical archaeology to the Bible itself, to the stories, to the real text, the attested text in Babylon, the Akkadian stuff, the Mesopotamia stuff, the treaties, the origin of Christianity. So I that's not my lane. So I definitely, that's not my focus. Now I once upon a time, now, if like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, if somebody would have called me up and mentioned the Bible, the Quran, the Talmud and all that stuff, boy, I'm telling you, I used to know the Bible forward and backwards, and the Quran as well. There's books where I'm debating Muslims and Jews online, way back in CompuServe AOL days. Y'all remember AOL? America Online? AOL? You've got mail. Y'all remember that? I used to go in rooms looking to fuss and fight. And I used to bust up people, the Muslims, the Quran, how the Quran was tampered, how to, all that stuff, everything. But anyway, but I've since let that go. But anyway, so I see that the brother Garfield is doing it. But shout out to everybody. I'm trying to scroll up see if anybody had any questions or comments. And then y'all can feel free to click the link. And if okay, Asar, I see Asar. Shout out to Asar. Asar says he has an article with all the Old Kingdom variations of Remetch. All right, cool. Yeah, man, share it. Shoot, see Asar. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all about Asar. Asar is a hoarder. See, Garfield's nickname is Hebrew Killer. Asar is the hoarder. I'm gonna find the Egyptian word for hoarding. That's gonna be Asar's new name. Asar has all these different texts and articles. Nah, but I can't say that though. Asar shares freely, so I can't say that. Um, yeah, so I had to take that back. But that's a good joke though. We got brother Sean in the building, Anusha Hotep, Afro Ninja. Who else we got? What else we got going on? Boom. Queen Cheetah still in the house. I'm looking for questions. Y'all got any questions? Where the trolls at? Nah, listen, I can't mention trolls because I gotta be careful what I ask for. I gotta be careful what I ask for, boy. The trolls were on fire last night. You had a brother, I don't know who he was. Person I don't even know. This brother was just I'm saying it's weird. The internet is weird. Like I know there's been weirdness all along. You know how the internet just amplifies it because now we can see everybody, see everything, and interact. But boy, I didn't know it was this crazy out here in YouTube streets. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. So if not, I know it's late, man. I'm gonna go ahead and do my Netflix binge. Find something on Netflix. But it's late. I need to be turning in. So hopefully y'all learned something. So again, for those who may watch this, and I've been on for 2 hours, so this is a good time to kind of wind down. But if somebody pop in and want to ask any questions, Emicat, I don't know if you been looking at the chat, but I see when I share stuff, I don't look at the chat. One, I don't want to be distracted. Um, and then two, if I have a lot of windows open and things like that, it's a challenge. And then you lose your train of thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't recommend people be staring at the chat, especially if your buttons are easily pushed. Now that I'm cool with, my buttons are not pushed like that. But somebody may ask a good question though. Like how you're sharing information, but you don't complete your the information. Like you're in the middle of sharing something, and then somebody asks a question about what you just said, but you're really going to answer the question eventually. They just don't know it yet, but then they ask the question, and then you pay attention. So that sometimes that will happen to me, and I'm like, boy, you want me to jump the gun, and then then you fast forward. So that's why I don't monitor the chat too much while I'm sharing stuff. That's just me.
Yeah, that's a sound advice to not watch the chat, obviously. But the chat, there wasn't so much going on because I think everybody was paying attention to what you're saying. I saw one question, and then there's one that just came in from Master Khalif. But there was one from Boom previously, and he just asked just a side question: how much are you guys able to do with the glyphs? Are you able to write your own stuff, like a short note or poem?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Um, yes, but here's the challenge with that is because the writing system is a dead it's a dead language, as they say. And even the writing system, nobody's writing in the glyphs and or what regardless of the style outside of the liturgical forms that Coptic Church deals with using the Greek alphabet, et cetera, et cetera. But The challenge is the way that the writing system is structured and was used. It's we could write things out and be perfectly, grammatically correct, the syntax to be on point, everything like that. But we wouldn't know if the ancient Egyptians would have written it that way. So we would want to stay true to how they would write things. So it would be a challenge for us to, check and check and check and check and try to find the structure of how it was written. And that's because of how the glyphs are. Because remember, the glyphs, there were multiple glyphs that could share consonantal values, and things like that. And then today, we have different ways of saying things. We have different idioms today. We have different figurative ways of expressing ourselves today. So things like that. And then poems that you mentioned specifically is a very figurative expression in and of itself by being a poem. You got to rhyme or whatever and things like that. And so we're dumping figurative on top of figurative, and it may not be the way it would have been done in the ancient times. But in terms of grammar, which is morphology and syntax, we can be 100% on point with that. And so to that, I say, yes, we can. So hopefully that answers your question. We can. All right. So, like for example, the word, the idiom, I can say, menib, and I can use the phrase menib to mean stubborn and call somebody stubborn. He who is stubborn, or the stubborn one who is stubborn. Okay, as I could say something like that. But did the Egyptians use it in that sense? That's where, it could be tricky. Even though the words would mean that, but did they use it like that? All right. You said somebody else? Oh, we got somebody on the panel. Let me take the chat off here. Hotep, we got Hebrew Killer. Uh-oh, that must be Garfield.
Peace, family. How you doing? Peace to the queen and peace to the brother. Ujau, how you doing, brother?
All right, peace. Hotep.
Hotep.
I should say, hey, look, I'm going to start saying shalom to you.
Hotep, family, Hotep. Why more people? I noticed I've known you for years, bro, and I've always seen you as for lack of a better term, an elitist when it comes to expressing what the text means. Why is it whenever I see more people, not saying I'm using the conscious community as an example, but it seems like we intend to downplay the greatness of Kemet instead of trying to like compare it to other cultures, like what they did and what they stood for. We pay more attention of like religious ideas that we see today instead of what the greatness of what Kemet is. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion starts.
Yeah, you're right, and I say similar things. I say what you just said, but I think the reason is because not enough people really take Kemet for granted, and they don't think that it's a serious study, like how you would go and study chemistry or physics, like how serious you would take that on. Like, if you made your mind up to be, okay, hey, I want to become a physicist, you would approach it a certain way. And so when people look at Kemet, it's like this romanticized, commercialized thing. It's like, it's a popular thing, whatever, and they feel like it could be microwave, and they just gonna, you know, do a little something half stuff. And that's unfortunate because I think people focus on the wrong things. So until people see it as a worthwhile, serious study, not that people got to think that they are Egyptians, and that's another thing. People think that you got to believe that you are a descendant of ancient Egypt or whatever in order to study it and whatnot. No, it's just a culture to be studied because it was one of the greatest cultures in that era of time. Period. At least for that period of time, in among its contemporaries, and it's like the light of the ancient world. And so, what can we extract from it and learn from it? That's the question that people don't really try to probe and answer. They think that when you study it, you're trying to get into, they see things as spooky or whatever the case is, but they don't know, and they will never know if they don't change the way that they approach it. So that's why I think is one of the major reasons for that, and that's what I advocate. I'm like, look, Egyptians black, white, purple, brown, whatever. Who cares? Let's get into the genius of the culture. You know what I'm saying? These folks, man. From what I know, see, I've been studying for a while. I've been teaching for 10 years, but I've been studying longer. And I like I was impressed just with the surface commercial stuff. Like, oh man, the pyramids, oh wow, and all that kind of stuff. But now knowing what I know now, I actually have a genuine appreciation for the real stuff, not the superficial craziness. You know what I
You
mean?
know, I remember when I just met you, right? I had because I used to study Kemet a little bit, what I thought I was, and
Right.
the surface stuff. I was really deep into it, and I sent you like an article. I remember I sent you an article, and I said, "Bro, is this the true teachings?" And you're like, "Um, man, not re." And you said, "Not really." And it was an article I think mixed with a lot of Alvin Boyd Kuhn stuff and Gerald Massey stuff, and so the person
Yep.
like compiled a lot. And you said to me, "Nah." And from that day, I haven't studied Kemet, man. I left it alone. I'm like, I was off base from the jump, so I left it
Yep.
alone. But
That's
I think we have to. I don't want to generalize it, but I mean, I really want to study it because I think it's a great culture to study, and I think it brings a lot. It brings better understanding of what's going on in the ancient Near East. Meaning, it helps me also in my studies, knowing that there were two great empires, like where the Israelites were in between, meaning ancient Kemet and Mesopotamian region. So studying those two cultures actually help in understanding what Israel, the environment that they were in. So I don't know, man. I think I would love to see more of you and what you do. I mean, but I know you like your little, like the bat cave. You like your little environment. So it's like, I think.
yeah, well, I try to see. I don't mind. See, I just try to dodge all the like. I like having fun, but
Hmm.
when the fun is start to pass off as serious, scholarly, and whatnot, and I see people buying into the misinformation, then I have a problem with it. So I just try to avoid. I'll chime in every now and then, but nah, I rather like I like to have fun, like I said, but I've learned enough to separate the fun, and we could
Hmm.
trick the fun out, but we got to get serious, And I'm like, all right, let's do both. Let's be serious, and then let's have fun. But that's not try to blend the two and clown
Hmm.
and do all the drama and immature stuff that I see. I see a couple people doing. It's a pattern. The Chief X is out there and stuff. Chief X be messy as all outdoors. You know what I mean? But I want to ask you something, right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
I don't know how long you were listening, but earlier I brought up the Ipu Ware Papers. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now what I'm not familiar with is the latest arguments with how people like I'm aware that people used to compare the Ipu Ware Papers or use it to compare it to the Exodus or
Exodus, right.
in the Bible and stuff like that. So where is the argument on that? Like if you could summarize
All
what
right.
are
The
scholars
argument,
saying?
or yeah, the argument originally was like, a flash in the pants where people like, hey, you know what? It has to do with Exodus because it mentions certain things. But I think once people started reading the Apua Papyrus and seeing what it's talking about, from my memory, I know it's talking about people coming into Egypt. If I think, and I'm going to use the word Egypt interchangeable with Kemet. Excuse me if that's offensive to
Not
some. Um,
uh,
I think they're coming into Egypt, and I think they're actually about saving a group of people. It was about a group of people that was very disheartened at how the pharaohs or the leadership of Kemet were treating them. So they were campaigning against them. It wasn't about a group of people leaving Kemet. That was the first thing that I observed about the papyrus. But
Okay,
right now,
Paul. Oh,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so hold up, Paul. So hold that thought because that's what I brought up earlier. So I'm gonna share my screen again.
Wow. Wow. Great minds think alike.
So here is the just a portion. It's a whole. This is a whole book on the Ipuwer papyrus from
Mhm.
Gardner. And so in this portion is it speaks to what you're saying. So what I point out earlier, and I hope y'all can see my cursor again, but over here is this is a transcription of the first sheet, line 6 through 9. That's just a reference for anybody who want to look up. So right here is the word kassetiu, and as I explained earlier, the word kassetiu is the same word as hyksos or the kasut in the hika kasut, and it literally means a hill or a mountain, but it doubles as a word for foreigner because anything on the other side of the hills or the mountains were foreign to the Egyptians. So kasetiyu is a word that means those who are on the from the other side of the mountains, which are foreigners. So it says foreigners, kasetiyu, keper, they're becoming, and then m is as, and then it says remetch. So they're becoming, so they're coming into the north of Egypt, which is Lower Egypt. They're coming into the Delta area in such large numbers that they're saying that the foreigners are becoming as the Remetch everywhere. See, M set Nebet, which means in all places. So it's like they're seeing foreigners everywhere now. And so in this papyrus, they're complaining like, "Yo, man, these people are starting to multiply, and they're getting too plentiful in our land. What's up with that?" So that's what this text right here is saying. So it matches exactly what you're saying. It's not talking about people leaving. It's talking about people, too many people coming in,
Hmm.
and that's exactly what it said right there.
Yeah, there was a movie or documentary that came out, I think 2015. I remember at Kemet on Trial, Divine Prospect had brought it up and said, "Y'all better go watch this. Patterns of Evidence. They proved the Exodus." And if you ask him now, he'd be like, "I said that." His
Yeah.
mind has changed. So it's a lot of fluff, and it's a lot of craziness in there that's been refuted soundingly. But I tell you this, the production is nice, and the argument is it's like Zeitgeist. It's like the Zeitgeist movie,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's the Old Testament version of Zeitgeist. That's all it is. Oh, I wanted to
Okay.
ask you this before I get off. What dictionary would you recommend? And I saw peace and love to Asar in the chat. Would you recommend to be used for a person who doesn't read the language, and if they wanted to get an idea about what something means? What would be the best dictionary to use right now?
I would say if my hands was tied to pick one for a beginner or somebody like you described, I would say the Mark Vigus digital dictionary, and that's free and it's in PDF format.
You
And
said
if you need
you
it,
said what is it? Vigas?
yeah, Mark Vigus. Yep,
Okay, Vigas. Okay, okay.
yep. His latest edition, because it's searchable, because it's digital, and it's pretty easy to get around in it. You know, so I would recommend that if you just want to know what words are translated as. That'd be my first recommendation. You know, if I had to pick just one. Yep. And matter of fact, so just so people know, what Mark Vigus did, the guy who did his name is Mark Vigus. What he did was he took Faulkner's dictionary and other dictionaries and compiled them in a digitized format. So so he did all of us a favor by making it free and putting it in a digital format in the form of PDF that you could search. Now so that's that. That's what I recommend. And
Okay.
yeah. So Now people, but now if you didn't ask me that, the assumption is that most people go to budge. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go to budge and budge and budge, and if you don't really study this stuff, budge will mess you up because he has his own transliteration system. That's what Chief X did the other night. Yeah, last night he was saying the Remetch is not Remetch, it's Reth, Reth. He didn't even know that Budge created his own transliteration system that nobody uses today, and he just going on with that. But it's Mark Vigus, the search. So like, do you have a particular Egyptian word
That I had
that
in
may pop
mind? No, no,
pop in your
no.
mind right now?
I'm sure I do after I jump off. I'm gonna remember like 50, but right now I don't have it in mind. I was just curious, just in
Okay,
general.
cause I was gonna share it and just look up something like pick a word. So let me just um see if I can do that real quick.
What about Tamahu? Yeah, yeah. Let's do Tamahu. I hear that so
Okay.
much in the community.
Oh, I done
I
straight
remember,
that.
I remember. I don't know if you remember in the '90s. They had a book called "Blacked Out to Whitewash" by Cesar. That's where a lot of the stuff comes from that we hear even today. And
My
he.
Gerald Massey is the one responsible for that Tamahu means white people thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did a whole video on that, and I was hoping that people stop doing that, but it's like I probably got to redo it or spread it around again.
Oh, I'm curious. By the way, you mentioned something about the so-called Libyans, right?
Yeah.
And earlier. And what do you think about them being um, pharaohs eventually? I mean, of course, there were outsiders, and outsiders intermingled. What do you think about the Libyans? I think it was what, the 21st or the 20th dynasty. They became the leaders of Kemet. What do
Mm.
you think about them being the leaders, and do you think um we overlook the fact that it was like a metropolis where different people, I don't think the Libyans invaded and ruled. I don't think that's the situation. I think that's just somebody that just probably grew up in Kemet. I could be wrong. You could correct me. And they became a leader. What do you think about that specific group being able to have a dynasty in Kemet?
Well, to back up a little bit. Oh, let me see. We got Mika in the house. That one, yes, Kemet was never a homogeneous group of people biologically, and and then they were an amalgamation that over time synchronized and became one. So you got different people there, and at different times, the that structure, that solid structure, weakened, and we have these intermediate periods and stuff like that. But see, what makes an Egyptian would be a person who is loyal to the culture and country. Just like a citizen, somebody living there, they can become an Egyptian, and we can show texts of people losing their Egyptian identity and then regaining it, and people who didn't have it gaining it. And so Libyans ruling or becoming leaders and whatnot, it shouldn't be hard to understand. We shouldn't look at that as like oh man, see that as negative.
Right, because even the Nehesi, they came and ruled during the 25th dynasty, and
Hmm.
where they would rule
Pianki,
down, you know.
yeah, Shabak.
By design, or did they actually take over though? Because that was that a different situation than the Libyan situation though.
Yeah, because remember they came. You got to look at when they came. I think they came after a real big breakdown in the administration and structure, and they came back to restore. Taharka and Pianki and all those contemporary, all those people at that point, they came back and restored. They came back and came back and brought order back, so to speak. So there's different circumstances for these things to take place and transpire. Same thing with the so-called Higakasut, Apophis, and their ruler in Lower Kemet, and then them encroaching further and further down south until they were like, nah. Mentuhotep and his folks, Ahmos and Kahmos and Mentuhotep was like, nah, we're not having that. Push, straighten everything back out, and they started the middle kingdom. You know what I mean? 11th dynasty, and in fact, that's when Egypt was first called Kemet. Kemet was not called Kemet until the 11th dynasty.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so I have this on the screen, and you were saying Tamahu, right? So let me make this big. Well, I'll make this big though. Let me welcome Miko on the panel. I don't know if you want to give a shout out real quick. If your mic is working. Okay, guess not. All right. So let's look up the word Tamahu. Now, first of all, Tamahu is not really a correct, even in a conventional way. It's not even what people should be pronouncing it. Now, I'm not saying that our pronunciations are historically accurate, but even in the conventional standards, it's not the way that it's pronounced. But the word, so Tamahu, what people think they're talking about are really the Libyans. They're two things. They're either the Libyans or they're the lower Egyptians. So let's do the Libyans first. So the Libyans, which were west of Egypt or Kemet, they were divided into two larger groups of people, the Chehinu and the Chemehu. And it's the Chemehu that people are saying Tamahu. Okay, so let's look at that. Chemehu. And y'all see on the screen, I typed in the transliteration of the word in search, and it went straight to it. You see it says Chemehu right here. These are the glyphs for it. It says Libyans, big as day. The next entry, Chemehi, a Libyan, singular. And you got Chemehu are dancers. And these are dancers because Libya was known for their popular dance. It was a certain dance that they did. And I have some primary sources for that. In the glyphs and the figures, you can see them doing a certain dance. But Chemehu, then you have Chemehu, that means a garden. So the words are different because of the determinative. Okay, so, but people are saying ta mahu. See, they put in these vowels, ta mahu. And so they're saying that those are white people, but nowhere in any dictionary are you going to find the word tamahu meaning white people or Europeans, ever. So that's made up. It was first made up by Champollion. People don't know that. Champollion is the originator of that. Gerald Massey in recent times just took it way out there, and then everybody else read Massey's work, and they think that the word tamahu means created white or created filth. And that's what they call white people. Egyptians call white people, the filth. That's all in Massey's book. In the Book of Beginnings or whatever it's called. So that's Chemehu. Now I want to show you another word, Ta Mehu, which is really Lower Egypt. So Ta is a region, and then Mehu is a name for Lower Egypt. And so let's look for that. So we got Ta, and then we have Mehu.
So what you're using right now is the actual PDF.
Yeah, this is the Vigus. This is the Vigus I was just telling you about.
Can you email it to me? How do I get this? I'd love to get it. Is there a price for it? Do I pay for it?
No, it's free. That's what I say. I'll just send it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for now is Ta Mehu, which is two words. Ta meaning region and Mehu meaning something that is submerged or low. And as a toponym, it's the lowest part of Egypt, which means it's at sea level because that's the delta. That's where it empties out in the Mediterranean Sea. So it's at sea level. And so that's why we call it Lower Egypt because of the word Mehu. So now notice that this is not it on its own, but this is a full phrase. Where Medew ta Mehu, which means a magnet of the great 10 of Lower Egypt. So that Lower Egypt part is ta Mehu. But let's keep. Let me just go to the next one. I'm trying to find it on its own. And this is Emira Tamehu, which means overseer of Lower Egypt. See, Imira Ta Mehu. But let me get it on its own right here. So you see, Tamehu on its own is a word for Lower Egypt. So when people go around and say the Tamahu are white people, they're calling the Egyptians white. You see how so check this out. You got people who are pro black, and they are pro the Egypt is black. Egypt Kemet means the land of blacks, and they're like, of course the Egyptians are black. Egyptians are black. Egyptians are black. But then they turn around and say Tamehu means white people, not knowing that they're calling the Egyptians who live in Lower Egypt white. So how you gonna say the Egyptians were black, but then say the Egyptians are white on the other side of your tongue? You see, so I laugh at that stuff because it just tells me that people don't know what they're talking about at all. And some of these people are prominent people, and and they use it, Tamahu. But so the point is Tamahu, depending on if you're using it for Tamehu or Chemehu, neither one of them are white people. Chemehu are the Libyans, and Tamehu are the Egyptians themselves. They just happen to live in the Delta. That's it. And you can see it right here. Huh?
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
Yep. See, it tells you the Delta. Now let's look up Mehu on its own, because I want to show you what I meant, because it's two words. It's a phrase. And oh man, it's gonna show. It's got 19 results. So let me get to it by itself. Now y'all see that, right? So Mehu by itself is Lower Egypt. Here's again Mehu, Lower Egyptian. Here's another one. Mehu is the crown of Lower Egypt, which is the Deshret, red crown. Then you have Mehu as this determinative, which is for seeds or plants, which is a plant from Lower Egypt. Mehu again, Lower Egypt. Now, if I keep going, you're going to find that Mehu, here's another one, Mehu, Lower Egyptian. Let's keep going down, down, down. I want to show you it in its form. Okay, oh, that's the ones I already showed you. Ta Mehu, yeah, because it has Mehu in it. But I want to show you where. Oh, and here's another thing. Meh means north, but it only means north because the submerged part, the lowest part of Kemet, was in the north. So that's why it means north. And so this means north, but I want to show you where it means to be low or what have you. So here we go. So we have Mehu is a drowned man. See that determinative? That's somebody who is laid out dead, somebody who is drowned. And you have the water ripples here as another determinative supporting and giving us a clue on what the word means. So this particular word means a drowned man. And so this lens connects to the word Mehu, meaning something low, below water. There's a crocodile deity that's also called Mehu, because crocodiles are known to be creatures that are submerged in water. They're below, they're low, they're under the water. So all these things are connected. And then you have Mehu, filling, stuffing. Now this is what I said earlier. The word Shemehu in the Book of Gates is a play on the words of the Eye of Ra, or the Eye of Heru, being stolen by Satuk, leaving an unfilled void there in his eye socket. And the filling of that eye, or replacing the eye, was a sign of victory over Satuk. But when the eye is not replaced or not filled up, it's a sign that Satuk is victorious. And so the name Chemehu, according to the Book of Gates and the Egyptians explaining the figurative etymology, they're saying that the Tim is a negation word. The word Tim means not or no. And then Mehu means filling, as you see on the screen. So Chemehu, figuratively, the etymology of it means to not fill something. And not filling something is a connection to Satuk. the deity of the desert, and that's where the Libyans came from. They came from the desert area into Kemet, and so that's how they got their. That's the connection that they're playing with the name, and so that's proof that the Egyptians intentionally played with words. That supports the punning and the paronymy and the figurative play on words. So anyway, hold on
Um,
here. I think we got somebody else in.
okay, go ahead.
Hey, I'm gonna jump off with Joe. Thank you, bro. You need to
Okay.
open.
Before you jump off, Garfield, I wanted to say three things, but just one for you, since you had asked about the about the Viger's dictionary. I put on the other on the YouTube chat a link to there's a short course that Wujao actually has on Sabre University, where he goes on to show people how to, using that particular Viger's dictionary that he was showing, how to go, about looking up words and things of that nature. So once he passes that PDF over to you, that would be, you might want to check that out, because that's actually pretty good,
Thank you.
will
Appreciate
help you
that.
out on it. Okay. And then the other two things I wanted to say was that, I think with what you were showing, Wujao, the important thing about what we always say when people ask us, what does this word mean and what does the other word mean? Like you showed in the dictionary, that one word could actually mean different things depending on, the glyphs. And that's actually one of the main problems that we had with even Chief X with the word Remetch, where he was actually focusing on the transliteration instead of the glyphs themselves. We usually ask people to, show us the glyphs instead of just telling us what does the word kem mean, or what does the word mehu mean in that, because obviously it could mean different things. So, you have to know which particular glyphs you're talking about. So that's one of the important things that people always need to keep in mind, that, you can have these words, that, look alike, but they definitely mean different things on the Sesh. And then the other thing I was going to say, which is that it's interesting that, when you're talking about, how people talk about Tamahu meaning white people and Nehesi meaning black people. When you showed the examples that you were showing with, the Table of Nations, and even the ones that you actually showed in the dictionary, the description has nothing to do with skin color at all. So it's usually something else. And that's what people just need to keep in mind, that, how people see themselves, or how, people saw themselves in ancient, cultures, had nothing to do with skin color, but, other things.
Yes, indeed. So Garfield, I know you got a role, but I put the Vigus in the inbox, that Facebook inbox.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so you can download it. Yep. So
it. All right. Peace and love, family.
all
Appreciate
right,
it.
Hotep.
All right.
So we got Mika in the building. Mika, you got any questions, comments? Nope. Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Did I miss any other comments in the chat?
You had some other questions. There was one from Master Kalik, but I think I did respond to him before. He was just asking about where there are the omissions on the of the owl on the word Remetch, but because you already broke it down in the video, but he did step out, I think, probably during that point. So he might want to go back and check that. And then New University TV was asking about when you were, if you ever would, he would like to see you break down the, the mathematical papyrus at some point. So is that something that
Oh,
you'd like to do?
okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm a, we'll do that. Definitely. I had planned on doing that anyway. So yes, definitely. We just gotta make the time for it. Yep, definitely. The mathematical papyrus. It's a papyrus of logic. We're gonna call it the Athmos Logic Papyrus. That's what we're gonna do. Any other questions? I'm looking at the chat now. Shout out to MC Chill. Let's see. He says clearly unpacked in context and applied with sources used to Remetch. Walked it down. Yep, there it is. Walked it down. But I hope y'all find it interesting. See, man, listen, we don't have to make up stuff. Like we of course we can we're forced to infer and we're forced to deduce. But we better infer and deduce off of concrete, some more solid things. And what I see in the you know many people do is that, yeah, they will exercise deducing and exercise inferring and stuff, but it's not anchored into something that is solid. And so I bring that up because the Egyptians reveal a lot, but then they also kind of not reveal a lot. So we can use what we reveal, but we got to recognize it. So for example, the text I just went over. Now I didn't go over as slow as I would like to, and read the whole thing and break it all down. I want to do that as a show onto itself. But the Book of Gates, the fifth hour, in that particular text is a prime example of the intentional play on words and how the Egyptians would explain what words mean by a figurative etymological breakdown. And so I showed where Remetch is played with Remit, which are tears. So tears and then people. So Remetch literally means people, but it's a play with the word to cry or for tears. Nahisi is said figuratively, or the way the Egyptians explain it, is coming from the fact that the god or the deity struck them. What was it? Asiatic is coming from Amu, is split between the single word Amu into two words, A and Mu, the great waters. All right. What else? And then the Chimehu, what I said. The Chimehu is connected to the story of the void or the non-filling of the eye of Heru in this case, when his eye got damaged. All right, and that's why they say the eye of Horus. Y'all remember that? I know y'all remember the eye of Horus. You got the eye of Ra and the eye of Horus. One is the left eye. The other one is the right eye. One represents the sun. The other one represents the moon and all that good stuff. Well, revisit those stories, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so the Chimehu is a play on the word Tem and Mehu, not to fill, or it's something that's not filled. All right, but it's right there. But the point is, Remetch means Egyptians. People have lost their mind talking about that Remetch don't mean Egyptians. Afrocentrists are the people who are responsible for making up that lie. Boy. All right, but I don't see any more questions. But shout out to everybody. Let me see. Am I missing anybody? Got a sorry Motep in the house. Afro Ninja, Chief X gonna have an argument against that. Man, listen, I don't care what Chief X is. Chief X, it's just, what do you call it? A pony show? A dog and pony show? Let's see. I'm just scrolling up, y'all. Just bear with me. I'm just trying to see make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm trying to shout everybody out too. Damo's in the house. Let's see. Buxy, Hotep Buxy. Yeah, I don't want this to get too long. It's already long. Boy, I'm telling you, and you remember when I first started, I said I'm gonna be quick. I'm just gonna strike quick, and I'm not gonna take long out of my vocabulary. I'll eat that.
Bro, T'Challa already, he foresaw that. He said you're going to be here until 4 o'clock. He was just going to get his snacks and sit down and listen. Yeah.
Nah, that's right, man. I'm just going to take it from a vocabulary. I'm just going to accept it. I can't do a video under 2 hours, man. I'm just going to accept it. I'm just going to accept that. Okay, Master Khalik, he said I had to leave. My question is, why wasn't the M glyph in Remetch? Yeah, you kind of missed that. I went over that. I showed examples in the pyramid text utterance 400 or spell 400. I show where the owl glyph is there. I just show one example. Asarmotep just said he has more attestations, but it's there. But the reason why it's omitted is connected to the scribal canon, and part of that is the aesthetic pleasing, the aesthetic pleasing to the eye type of aspect that these scribes focused on, and were very very stickler about. They wrote the glyphs into these imaginary quadrats of squares or rectangles, and what's interesting is that any word that has a bird in it, the scribes used their discretion or created standards around the form in which those words were represented. So, for example, and the reason why the bird glyphs gave was the most problematic to the scribes is because of the white space in front and behind the birds. It just didn't look good, and so they would stick smaller glyphs if the word had a small glyph in it. So, for example, the word Sarah is a pintail duck and the circle with the dot in it. Instead of the pintail duck and the circle with the dot being horizontally next to each other, they would put the circle and the dot in that white space behind the bird. Same thing with the owl. Same thing with the vulture. You'll see they call them ligatures. Some people call them ligatures, where these glyphs will move and be put in these white spaces. Okay, so so that presented a challenge to the scribes. Any word that had a bird in it that didn't have a small glyph next to it. The tall and narrow glyphs stood by themselves. These flat or short and narrow, the short and broad glyphs usually were stacked on top of each other, one on top of each other, of two, and then the bird glyphs stood on their own, but they were filled in if smaller glyphs was included in the word. Other than that, they'll omit, scribal purposes. I see we got a SAR in the house. Now SAR come in at the tail end. Let me open up the mic. There you go, SAR. Hotep.
Oops, my bad. Peace.
Yep. Peace.
I didn't have nothing really to add. I just wanted to show the article that I was talking about at the beginning of the program. I had to leave, or I just muted y'all out because I'm actually working on my book, so I'm just coming in and out. So I pretty much know the argument. So, but exactly what was said and when it was said, that's going to be sketchy on my end for this evening, or I guess this morning, to be exact. Excuse me. But because I'm also working on a journal article on the very topic today on Remetch, on the etymology of the word Remetch. So of course I have to compile a number of source material. And if I can share my screen.
Yep.
Hold on one sec. Can you see?
Yeah, I'm putting it full screen. There you go. Everybody can see it now.
Yeah, I had to spend $42 plus tax, I think, on this one damn article. Yeah, I don't be understanding how much I love the community to spend what I would pay on a book for a single article. But with that said, the title of the text is Remarks on the Orthography of the Word Remetch in the Old Kingdom. And so this is only dealing with, of course, the Old Kingdom forms, but you can see throughout the text, the various forms of the term, which of course includes the owl. But what's good about it is that it shows you, or at least records for you, not only the different forms, but of course the sources and where you can find them. So you can see in these pyramid texts these variations of the word remetch that is actually spelled out, that you can see here. I don't know if y'all can see
Yeah,
it. I'll make
yeah.
it a little bigger. I'm sorry.
No, I say yeah, yeah. We can see it right there. We have the source. You got the tomb, the text of Winnie, Peppy. That's the initials at the top. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy, Peppy, and the M and N, Neath, and I forgot M was for.
Um,
I forgot.
I forgot too. So let's.
But I actually showed Winnes one. I have the pyramid, the glyphs, the actual photo of the pyramid text itself, and it shows it's actually in the cannibal hymn
Mm-hmm.
where it says that Winnes is eating the Remetch and he's
Uh-huh.
living off the gods and stuff. Yeah, so I showed it where it's the mouth, the owl, and the tethering rope right there
It's
earlier.
Marin Ray.
Okay, Merin Ray. Okay, yeah, I forgot who
That's
that
who
was. Merin Ray.
is,
All
but
right.
it's a good source, to see these various forms. And one of the things that they also note is that, there are other forms of words for human being, of course, but the only one that is represented phonetically, uh, like if you just see the man and the woman by itself, you could that like that is the form for remetch as well. So these two together are the word remetch,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just you know a good text. So for those of you that have a scholarly stint and just want to get super detailed in it, you'll find these variations all throughout the particular text, and of course its sources where you can find the variations. So that's all.
Yep. Hey man, won't you go ahead and send that to Chief X, man? I'm sure he'll love it.
No, no, I ain't. Only to those who were worthy. I won't waste my time. He ain't gonna read it
Yeah,
anyway. He got my book and ain't read it.
that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it funny because you could give him all of the work, like that's the work done for you on a platter, and he still won't read it. Um, but this is what I showed, just so you can see it. This is what I showed earlier,
Yeah,
which is one of the renditions that your article had. The mouth, the owl, and the tethering rope.
exactly. And
So
what's
Master Khalik, just real quick, Master Khalik, if he was still in the chat, I don't know if he's still there, but because he said he left and didn't see this either, so that's why I'm bringing it back up too,
I
so he
see.
could see it with the owl. But yeah, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just saying that the word remetch itself, uh, and it's interesting because in the book that we published together, um, was it there or was it in? No, my bad. No, it wasn't in that book. It was in Aludra Volume 2. And in Aludra Volume 2, I made the suggestion that the word remetch derives from a word, uh, actually zim, meaning a body part. And so the evolution is just like this. It's zim, body part, or I should say zim, body, then zim, body part, limbs, zim, penis. The word zim branched off into two, although related, semantic paths. So you had zim, man, as in male, in one direction, and then you had Zim as in terms of body and body part. Um, and from the notion of the Zim limb, and then of course penis, you have the male husband variant of the word Remetch. But you can also find words of the in not only other words in Egyptian, but of course in other languages, where the word for body, physical body, becomes the word for person and human being. So just like the word tep head can mean tep person in Egyptian, and so the body parts become the kind of the quintessential aspects of it. But what's revealing about it in terms of the compare data is that it really has to deal with this concept of giving birth, or the ability to give birth to something, or being like there's a like how in the biblical text where it says so and so son of man,
Yeah, yep,
and
yep,
then
yep,
when they
yeah,
refer to human beings as the sons of man,
yep.
like
Sons of God. The sons of God went into the daughter. What they say, daughters of man, but and that part. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, so that it's related to that concept of giving, of being born from man, like that who is born from man is a human being. So it's basically the linguistic concept or equivalent to Umuntu, Ngamuntu, Mbantu. A person is human because of other human beings, right? And so it is that born of a human, that born of a man, or begotten of a man from a man, and it stems from this notion of the penis, and begatting and all that other kind of stuff. And so, and ironically, I came across um a text. So when I decided I'm gonna make a journal article out of it, I expanded my research, and so gave birth to Cax, edited the text Sumito Hermetic Festschrift for A.B. Dogopolsky and H. Junggrathmeyer. Um, and it's a multi-language text, primarily in English though, which is good because they're usually always in German. But there's an article in here, if I can just find it. Um, I
Google
guess
had
I'll
to
just
step
go
up
to the
their
damn
game.
table of contents. I can't find this damn text. Um,
While
but
you
it's
find
it.
it though, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say what you just described is sounds to me similar also to the expression when the king, or in text where it says the king will have the son of my body, you
Hmm.
know, and which is the body, ket, the body, and say the bodily child or the bodily son of so and so, instead of just regular son or daughter or whatever.
Exactly. So it is almost like, in a sense, one dealing with lineage. So yeah, the article I'm talking about is from B. Uh, Blazet Blazek. It's one of them Russian uh, authors, but it's Egyptian Remetch, man, an attempt at an Afro-Asiatic etymology, starting on page 57. But so while I there's he came up with a similar hypothesis. So did Dr. Alan Anselin, uh, and but my analysis goes further and brings it back to that word for body and penis. But um, so there's lots of text uh, that, well, not gonna say lots. It's only really quite a few, but that help to gain help us to gain clarity on the term. And I'm mad because I spent $100 on this book,
Mm.
and all because there's no article form that I can find online. And so the imagine spending $100 plus shipping on a book, and then the one chapter you need is only one, two, three, four, five, six pages.
Yo, that's that's like you spent $600. That's per page, boy. That's gas prices went up. Your copy pages went
Like
up.
uh, people don't understand the struggles. Just just to spend $100 for you only want 6 pages and probably only quote something from one paragraph.
Yeah, that's something too. I think a whole show should be dedicated the to that, the dedication. What does it take to even research? Go from enthusiast to researcher to documentation to publishing something, like for real. Like people don't understand like the reality of cost and stuff.
Not to cut you all short, but since you're talking about, because I know what we were talking about today, I don't know if you can see the screen I'm sharing. One of the subjects that we were talking about today, I think you ended up showing the transcription version, and that's because finding the primaries sometimes, like this one where we need to go through different primaries on that particular text that will be laden the papyrus, Laden's papyrus, and yeah, I don't know if I can make it bigger. Let me see. I can just put it maybe. Let me see if I can. Let's see if I open a new tab and come back here because I'm only sharing a tab. Yeah. So that's 3 volumes of one of the subjects that we were talking about today. So you want to go through the different papyruses inside, like you see here, and the price, like you saw. I don't know if y'all saw it. Let me go back. The price of it is $1,500 basically.
That's
To get those 3 volumes, and you're like,
that's
you
why I'd
pump the
be
brakes a
at
bit.
the Penn Museum Library and other in Penn State Library and Temple University Library, so that when I come across that in them prices, I take my camera, uh, take the book off the shelf, go into a corner, and take photos of the pages that I need because you know uh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the thing about that one that Emiket is sharing, that's the Ipuwer papyrus, the famous Ipuwer papyrus, or the Leiden papyrus. Yeah, look at the price right there. $1,495 for the facsimile. You know, but I'm saying that's a popular papyrus. You would think that it would be everywhere and it would be cheaper.
Mhm,
You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? So people don't understand the struggle, just like you said. People don't understand the struggle, and the thing is, you know, you got people going around saying, "Oh man, y'all are book hustling, and you gotta lie and to the people to keep them focused because it's a financial thing and whatnot." Like, man, please.
I need to make it a financial thing so I could pay $1,495 for a book
Exactly.
set.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I say a show should be dedicated to this, to show like more examples of this.
I,
You
I
know,
I put a challenge out some time ago. I'm like, pick your favorite book, regardless of to what the subject is. Just your favorite book. It has to be a book that is a research. So I should say your favorite research book. So not like um, a novel or something like that. That's not going to have uh, a bibliography. But if you just have time, take a month and go through every single book and jot down, put in the margins or whatnot, how much the book cost. And then at the end of the journey, calculate it all. And a good way to do it is when you're just going down page for page, total up each thing and just put the total at the bottom of each page. And then that way, when you're done, you just, calculating the total. Once you see the price for each book and total and see how much it is, and people be, you know, um, and I don't know everybody's financial situations, but for those who got it and then complain about like $30-$40 for a book, I'd be like, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. That's what people don't understand. Because I guarantee you, I'm trying to think of a book that's like heavy, got a heavy reference section, and I got a, not only reference but got bibliography. That they separate the two.
Yeah,
And if you just calculate the cost of all the books that's cited and further reading, man, you're looking at like 10 grand.
damn near.
Like, especially with Egyptological, Egyptology stuff, because the facsimile stuff is really where it gets expensive. And
Yeah,
then these older series like the 18 early 1900s, where they hand wrote everything, and you got facsimiles, and they come in volumes like from volume 1 through 7. It was another one that cost like 3,200. I'm gonna find it. It's a set that I man, I wish I could get that.
exactly. And so this is what is frustrating for, not necessarily frustrating for the people, but it's frustrating for me when trying to articulate to certain individuals, like, why, you know your your donations and things help. Because what people don't realize is that a lot of these scholars that are able to do this work, they'll get those books, but guess how they get the books? They get grant money from the universities and other funding institutions to conduct research for a certain amount of time, even in certain locations. And so, in some degrees, their um, their housing is paid for, for that particular time while they're doing that project. Like the grant will cover like living expenses because they know that to do this research, you have to take time off to to conduct the research, and that cuts into your bills. So for independent scholars who have to compete with that, so you're not only just whatever your regular job is and have to take care of your bills and families, you know, this extra stuff is, like you just got to go and raise some additional funds if you just ain't got it like that to kind of get this type of library. So when people see, the kind of this is why, like, I just don't respect a lot of folks who just want to argue and Google stuff because they're in a quick debate and argument, not understanding that a lot of times when we're making these arguments and having these conversations, it's built off of text that you can't find online, that you're not going to get in a PDF form. Everything isn't Googleable, and you have to go get these texts. And so
He
again,
said
one of the reasons why I
he
even
said
bought this
Googleable.
$100 books. I'm sorry.
I said you said Googleable. We're gonna have to caption that.
Yeah, Googleable. Some stuff just ain't Googleable. you know, and so that's just something that independent African scholars have had to deal with since coming out of slavery and colonialism. And this is something that even Martin Banal mentioned in Black Athena when he was talking about certain Black scholars. Like, they don't even have access to a lot of the stuff that we have access to as tenured individuals at these large universities, and who can get these big grants and big budget book deals up front, right? So it's just saying all that to say, just appreciate the people who put in the work for you and share this information with you, because it comes at a great cost. If it
Ex-
isn't financially, it's in terms of relationships and family. you know that's time you can be on date night, that you're reading, because you got to read all this stuff. So it's just like if you travel cross country in a car, you got to drive all those miles. you know you just can't
right.
teleport and skip and be at the destination.
I
Although I
think that needs to
wish
be underscored.
we had something like that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying that I think everything you're saying should need to be underscored because the sentiment in the online community is that people take that for granted,
Yeah.
and the easy route, the lazy route, the less expensive route, the faster route is always to have these aha gotcha moments on just banging on sources, on surface sources that's Googleable, as you said. You know, no in-depth reading, no literature review, no, don't even know. Like once somebody finds something that agrees with their sentiment, then they stop searching instead of finding out the opposition. Are there debates going on? Who is more has the more convincing of the evidence? Who has been ruled out? What's the chronology of the arguments? Is it like 10 years old and it's been debunked now? All those things need to be
don't don't
considered.
don't forget all those things in other languages.
Yeah, that too. Yep, that too. And so, but that's a good point about the funding, because this is why scholars, when you look at scholars' work, they're published by an institution or a college, University of Chicago, Oriental Chicago Institute. You got Brown's University, where James P. Allen and those guys come out of. They're receiving funding, and then you got people in the field. But you're right; they're getting funding. They're getting access to a wealth of resources, and they got they
Yeah,
got, they got that war chest.
I was watching this video. It was I was going through an article when they're talking about they're trying to figure out how the ancient Egyptians what the wine actually tasted like, and I think that it is an old experiment they did, and it's actually it was a student, I forget from which British university. I hope I'm getting that right, but it was definitely in the UK. And obviously the university did pay for her to actually go to Kemet to run all the experiments, extract all the stuff that she needed, archaeological stuff, get back to the university with the staff. Obviously, those are things you just can't do, like especially when you're bringing granary stuff and things of that nature. So she had access to all of that. She had access to getting even from other countries certain I think the grains that she wanted, different kinds, and then actually have those planted around the university using the same methods that were done in ancient Egypt. It's a long, it was a whole long process, and then actually get with some brewery companies as well that would actually allowed to actually do the processes and just go through the whole process and figure out how did this wine taste like. And these are things that people like us just don't have access to, but this is why most information will actually come out from different certain institutions and things of that nature, because of that particular kind of funding, and actually which is available just also for students as well. So that's why it's very important for people to understand like just how behind we are, and you can't be sitting here fussing and fighting. If you're going to do something, at least support the very few people, because there's always other people who are just reckless with with their information. Some people who don't even know, like pseudo and all of that. But among people who study this, it's always easy to pinpoint people who are actually serious, and actually then support those very few people who are serious about it, because we have a long, long way to go.
Exactly. And this is why it's important, and why I try to encourage those, those younger than I, to, if you have a serious interest in this kind of stuff, to please go to school and get your degrees in it. And it's not so much just so you can have the degree, that you can say that you have the degree. It's the access to certain things and doors you can get in if you have the degree. Now, I've been able to get in certain spaces, some with difficulty, but I've been able to get there because of the quality of the work and arguments that I make. But there are still certain things that I'm barred from because I don't have the degree in a certain area. So, for example, like with the ARCE organization, they won't even let you submit an abstract for a conference unless you have a degree in Egyptology. And it's a way to discriminate. Um, and I get it. They're trying to keep the quacks out. But, with the alien pyramids and all that other kind of stuff.
The zeitgeist and the Gaia.
Yeah. But at the same time, it can be one could be very discriminative, towards perspectives that are not necessarily orthodox. And one of the things that they will try to do is say that, well, since you don't have the degree in this, we don't have to necessarily take you seriously, even though your arguments can be sound, right? So this is why, like, even for myself, I've decided that within the next 2 or 3 years, after I finish this set of schooling on the technology end, I'm going back and I'm gonna work towards the PhD in Egyptology, so that, one, we can set up our own institution, because once you get the degree in Egyptology, you can set up other departments, and we can start training Egyptologists. Like, there's no program at an HBCU for Egyptology anywhere in the country. With the exception of Howard, and that's only because of Dr. Mario Beatty. I don't think there's anyone else that even teaches Netcher. Maybe with Dr. I don't know if Dr. Ricchetti actually does it on the campus where she teaches. But, and so it's, we need those of us in those spaces. And so I want to try to encourage, those who have a serious interest and you think that you can do it, make it happen. Go back to school, and let's take over this field in a very serious way.
That's something that I would definitely love to do. I was actually upset with myself that being a Danish citizen, I had access to obviously free university education, and at the time, obviously, I'd picked a different thing. I would have probably have loved to pick Egyptology, knowing what I know now. But that's something that I've definitely thought about, how I can do that while not being in Denmark at this point. But it's something that I'm definitely looking into.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm all for that, and I would say the same. Encourage people, but you know what? Even in listening to what you're saying, because I say the same thing. I feel the same way. But listening to you say it, or listen to somebody else say it, something that came in my head is that we have this wave or this movement that's anti-school, like
Mm.
anti further education, and stuff like that. Like people are into the materials, like okay, bread and butter, okay, money in my pocket, food on my tables, and the fastest way to get there, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's just sad. So we got a work cut out, cause that train is moving. To see every little thing like that, it's like on steroids now because of the internet and social media. Everything that we may get a little peep out here and there. Now it's like it becomes a fad. It becomes bandwagonism where
Mm-hmm.
everybody's saying it, everybody's feeling the same way and stuff like that. So sometimes it could get rough. So we just gotta fight through these little waves of those kind of sentiments, because I hear it every now and then, man. It's like, my oldest daughter is 18, and her peer group, if you know sit down and just listen to conversations and stuff like that, or just the age range, they not that won't be too welcome. That speech you just gave, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And I'm like, man, what is it? What happened? So it's like everybody want to be an influencer right now. Like influencers make money. Instagram influencer.
Look,
You
if
know what I'm
I could
saying?
be a
So
RBG stripper / Egyptologist, I'd do it. Get the money on one hand that'll help fund. I'm trying to think of some OnlyFans way to fund the research. I'll do the sacrifice. I have the RBG draws and bring in the funds.
hey, all you gotta do is get a mask.
I just
You
I
know what I'm
just go hit
saying?
the gym, get 5 real quick, and do the sacrifice.
Yep, take 6 months, boy, hit the gym, get on a good diet.
Look,
Boy, sign up with Patreon, OnlyFans. Get a
whatever
you
by
already got
any
the all right.
means necessary. That's what Malcolm said.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So but yeah, people don't know the struggle. Man, I looked at my Amazon I don't even call it a wish list, but a list. And
Mm,
man, that thing is deep. I'm like, man, I need to start knocking some of this. I'm gonna start passing it out. My birthday coming up in April, y'all. I'm giving y'all 2 months heads up. April 14th, my birthday's April 14th. I'm gonna start posting my Amazon list, book list. Yep,
indeed.
I'm way behind. But all right, man,
Yeah.
it's 3:30. I definitely need to shut it down. It's a daggone work night, work day tomorrow, and I'm up here way over. I was trying to limit this thing to an hour. I just had
The
to
only
give up.
way that you're going to be able to do that is you're going to have to pre-record your
Yep,
show
yep. I already know it.
and have it already outlined. No introductions, no waiting on nobody. Just get in, do it, then premiere the show. That's
Yep.
that's that's the best way.
And I'm gonna do that too. I already know. I already know the solution. It's just that I ain't get around to it. But I like the interaction too. Like, see, you could do that, present, give it time to saturate, people marinate on it, and then have a Q&A live session. And that's pretty much the route I want to go. Because I like the interaction, I like the discussions, stuff like that. But all right, y'all. So I appreciate you coming through.
No doubt.
And Mika, I don't know if you still got Cricket Wireless or something. I don't know what's up with your internet. Or you got your microphone at a bubblegum machine or something. Do they even still have bubblegum machines? They,
Yep.
I don't even remember seeing them anymore. Like seriously, I haven't seen a bubblegum machine in a long time. They took the telephone payphones out, but it seemed like they took the bubblegum machines too. But yeah. All right. So MK, you got any last words?
Not really. That was actually a really good show. That was like some proper slow cooking though, for real. But it's necessary with this kind of stuff. So that was good. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, definitely. If you missed some of it, definitely go back and rewatch.
Okay, we're at the end. I'm trying to end it, but I see a comment by Tony. So Tony, I tell you what, because this is what happens every time. I'll see a last minute comment, then I'll go on for a whole another half an hour. I'm not going to do it tonight. So Tony, table your questions, and then next time I go live, make sure you are already subscribed and you hit the bell. When I go live, make sure you show up and re-ask your question, or even come on the panel, because I've been looking at your comments, and it's an easy way to straighten all that stuff out if you're really interested. If not, then hey, don't know what to say about that. But yeah, just come back because I'm about to shut this down.
I can summarize it for you real quick. He's trolling really. See, these people coming out of Chief X Riverland, whatever it is, because Chief, no, seriously, because Tony is not a regular, person on this channel. So he's coming in talking or arguing with himself, talking about people who look at, the ancient Egyptian pictures and they say that those are black people or whatever it is, or those are the Nubians or whatever it is. So you really need to find that particular channel that says that to argue with those kind of people, or just argue with himself, because whatever he's saying doesn't really happen here. I don't think he's aware that we actually take the studies seriously over here, and this is not chief expert, you know.
Well, it sounds like even just saying that. What about the daggone text, the glyphs around it? You know what I'm saying? Like people act like the words are not there. So we don't have to look at figures and guess.
You can't read.
Anyway, but anyway, all night tonight I was showing, improving, demonstrating. I was going through the text and everything. So just rewind. So with that, I'm out. I'm gonna say Shemem Hotep, and remember the struggle is real for people who are doing independent research, independent researchers. So support everybody who you see who takes this stuff serious, no matter what they're doing, whatever projects they're doing, because like Asar said, it comes at a cost. And he even mentioned relationships and friendships and business and stuff, and that's very real. That's very real. People don't spend time with their loved ones or family because they're trying to meet a deadline, a personal deadline. Like, listen, I'm supposed to have this grammar book out 2 years ago. I'm now 2 years behind on the pace that I set for myself. 2 years behind because life happened. Life happened around then. Of course, the pandemic, and we had to switch up a lot of things. I had to switch up a lot of things, but I need to get back on that. And it's the other stuff I want to do. So definitely the struggle is real. But all right, so I'm gonna say Shem Hotep. But yeah, so Tony, make sure you come through again, and organize your questions, organize your statements, so we can fix that. I'm a solutionist, and I saw your statements and questions, and that's easy. All of that's easy. All right, so I'm gonna say Shem Hotep. Appreciate for everybody. Thanks, appreciate everybody coming, tune in, staying late. It's 3:30 on the East Coast. Oh, sorry, you still in Texas, or you back on the East Coast?
I'm still in Texas, but I come back April, month of your birthday.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, all right. Be back here on the east side. All right, but I'm gonna say Shem Hotep, and appreciate everybody for coming through, and I am out. We're out.